Chapter 296. F***CK, the Black Heaven sect is too arrogant. Yeah, they're arrogant during the competition, and they'll be even more arrogant after the competition. No, I must find a way to teach them a lesson. Sigh, the Black Heaven sect is so powerful now. Who else has the ability to make them suffer? This is too difficult. There's still a way. At that moment, a cold smile appeared on Lei Mingtian's face. Everyone looked at him. Come, let's talk somewhere else. Lei Mingtian said, and everyone left the Four Seas Inn. Sigh, the tallest tree in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. Chief Wang looked at Lei Mingtian and the others as they left, then looked at the Black Heaven sect members in the inn who were having a good time. He could not help but sigh. Inside the inn, all kinds of wine and delicacies were laid out on the table. Murong Xian and the others were beaming with joy. Don't drink too much, we still have the competition tomorrow. Nangong Huang looked at everyone and said worriedly. Ha, I'm happy. Murong Xian put down his wine jar and laughed. Yeah, Nangong Huang, you left early, so you didn't see the faces of those sect leaders today. They were as black as the bottom of a pot. Jun Yi added. Hearing this, Nangong Huang was indeed a little regretful. Such an earth-shattering gamble was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. How could he miss it? Let them drink, I have a hangover pill here. Chu Kuangren smiled at Nangong Huang. Since the sect leader has spoken, let's all drink. Murong Xian laughed. Nangong Huang shook his head helplessly, then he said to Chu Kuangren, Sect leader, tomorrow is the fourth segment of the championship. It's the team competition, the last segment of the group competition. With our current points, we're basically guaranteed to stand out. Under such circumstances, the other orthodoxies in Group Delta might do something out of line in order to save face. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly at Nangong Huang's words. This is foreseeable, but it's at this point that we can test the results of your training over the past few months. Let them come, we're not afraid at all. Murong Xian laughed. The others also had confidence in their eyes. They had prepared far too much for this championship. Under Chu Kuangren's training, they had even narrowly escaped death many times. If they did not win this championship, they would be letting themselves down, and they would be letting down Chu Kuangren, who had been worrying about them for the past few months. Sect leader, just you wait. In order to thank you for your training over the past few months, we'll give you the championship of this hegemony competition as a gift. Murong Xian said with determination. Then I'll be waiting. Chu Kuangren smiled. He himself did not care about the championship, but this championship was a chance for Murong Xian, Nangong Huang, and the others to hone their skills. If they could win the championship, it would be a great encouragement to them, and it would help them establish a brave and diligent Taoist heart. This kind of mental breakthrough was very important to their future cultivation. It was more precious than any elixir. At the same time, this was also the reason why the other orthodoxies felt threatened and dissatisfied with the Black Heaven sect's strength. The members of the Black Heaven sect were too domineering, and this had dealt a heavy blow to the Taoist hearts of the other sky prides. It was very likely that their Taoist hearts would be clouded and become traumatized. In the best-case scenario, their cultivation would be hindered, and in the worst-case scenario, they might even develop inner demons. In the first city, at the arena of the championship, the orthodoxies entered the arena one by one. Just like the past few days, the audience seats were filled to the brim. The only difference was that the majority of the audience was more concerned about the Black Heaven sect than the championship itself. They wanted to see if the Black Heaven sect could continue to be so strong and finish the championship in an invincible manner. I guess before the championship started, no one would have thought that the Black Heaven sect could come this far. It's just unbelievable. Yeah, the world only knows that Chu Kuangren is in the Black Heaven sect, but very few people pay attention to the others. As time goes by, everyone has developed a misconception that besides Chu Kuangren, everyone else is not worth mentioning. The Black Heaven sect's performance has given everyone a slap in the face. Look, the Black Heaven sect is here. As the Black Heaven sect entered the arena, countless people chanted their name. Meanwhile, Murong Xian, Nangong Huang, and the others held their heads high. Some of them even opened their arms to greet the audience proudly. The mouths of the other orthodoxies twitched when they saw that. The limelight of this championship was completely stolen by the Black Heaven sect. Aside from the Black Heaven sect, the other orthodoxies were reduced to the background. In the arena, the 13th prefect was no longer in the judge's booth. Perhaps he had lost so badly yesterday that he was no longer in the mood to host the championship. Instead, it was the 12th prefect who was explaining to the audience. The 4th segment of the championship is also the last segment of the group stage. This is a group battle, and each group will send 5 members each, for a total of 30 people. These 30 people will be transported to a certain place to engage in a free-for-all battle. Every time they defeat someone from another orthodoxy, they will be awarded 10 points. This segment will end when only one orthodoxy remains, and the orthodoxy with the highest points will advance to the semifinals. When the 12th prefect finished speaking, he raised his hand and slapped the void. Suddenly, a circle of light appeared, and a surge of spatial energy spread from it. It was obvious that this circle of light was connected to another dimension. It was similar to a secret realm constructed by a sage. Now, may the members of Group Alpha please send their members into the arena. The 12th prefect said. Soon, the 6 sage orthodoxies of Group Alpha each sent out 5 members, and each of them received a bracelet from the 12th prefect. The bracelet was a teleportation device. Once they were sure that their lives were in danger, they could use the bracelet to teleport out of the circle of light. Of course, this would be regarded as a failure. One by one, the Sky Prides entered the circle of light. More than 10 light screens appeared in the sky above the arena. Each light screen showed a small town in the middle of the night, and a blood moon hung high in the sky. The blood-red moonlight shone on the small town, making it look rather eerie. This was the secret realm, Blood Moon Ancient Towns. The Sky Prides who entered the circle of light also appeared in different parts of the Blood Moon Ancient Towns. They were not teleported together, but were randomly sent to different corners of the town to prevent a free-for-all from breaking out at the beginning. Otherwise, what would the audience watch if it ended so quickly? Look, the Overlord Sage tribe is going to clash with the Xianxia tribe. They're going to clash, and they're going to fight. Someone exclaimed. On the light screen, the Sky Prides from 2 different orthodoxies met and began to fight. In the end, one of them was beaten so badly that he could not get up. The winner was awarded 10 points. Group Alpha's matches lasted for half a day, followed by Group Beta, Group Gamma, and finally Group Delta, which everyone was looking forward to. Or rather, it was the Black Heaven sect who was in Group Delta. To the crowd, the winner of Group Delta was already confirmed to be the Black Heaven sect, but they still wanted to see what kind of amazing performance the Black Heaven sect had. The 5 representatives of the Black Heaven sect stepped forward and stood before the circle of light. They were Nangong Huang, Murong Xian, Jun Yi, Jin Fian, and finally, Lan Yu. Chapter 297. Look, it's young Emperor Lan Yu. She's also going to participate in this battle. That's great, I can see my goddess's valiant and formidable fighting posture again. *T, that's my goddess. Other than Lan Yu, Nangong Huang, and Murong Xian, I wonder how strong the other 2 girls are. The crowd discussed among themselves, anticipating the Black Heaven sect's performance. In the skybox, Qin Wushuang said to Chu Kuangren, Sect leader, I can understand why you sent Jun Yi, but why did you send Jin Fian? Honestly speaking, she's not even as strong as I am. Wushuang, don't tell me you're unhappy that I didn't send you. Chu Kuangren laughed. I wouldn't dare. I'm just speaking the truth. Jin Fian is no match for you in a one-on-one battle, but she and Jun Yi are more suitable in this segment. Qin Wushuang was a little surprised. He knew that Chu Kuangren would never speak without evidence. Since Chu Kuangren said so, he must have his reasons. Then I'll wait and see. Qin Wushuang smiled. In the arena, the crowd entered the circle of light after collecting their bracelets. So, the people from several orthodoxies appeared in the Blood Moon Ancient Towns. The moon looked so round. Jin Fian looked at the blood moon in the sky. The creepy red moonlight made her shiver uncontrollably. She took out a sword. It was a gorgeous fiery red longsword. Jean Fian channeled her spiritual power into the longsword, and it vibrated before the hilt turned in a certain direction. Oh, over there. Jean Fian dashed towards the direction the hilt was pointing at. Meanwhile, in other parts of the Blood Moon ancient towns, the sky prides from various orthodoxies had also begun to move. In the spectator stands, the audience was staring at the screen. Look, someone's going to meet them. It's the sky prides from the Thunder Falcon tribe and the Eight Wind Palace. I think they're going to fight. Some of the audience members said expectantly. The others looked like they were ready to watch a good show too. However, on the screen, the sky prides from the Thunder Falcon tribe and Eight Wind Palace did not fight. Instead, they looked at each other, gathered together, and continued to search the Blood Moon ancient towns. This scene caused many people to be astonished. What's going on? Why aren't they fighting? They even gathered together, looking like they want to cooperate. It was not just the Thunder Falcon tribe and the Eight Wind Palace. Everyone also noticed that the geniuses from the other orthodoxies did not make a move after encountering them. Instead, they were searching for something in the ancient town. Everyone was dumbfounded. What was going on? They were here to watch a fight, not to watch them make friends hand in hand. The sky prides of the Thunder Falcon tribe, Eight Wind Palace, and Linghu family all seemed to be getting along with each other. What were they up to? Wait, don't tell me they want to join forces to kick the Xianxia sect out first. Suddenly, someone reacted and said. The crowd burst into an uproar. Because from the looks of these people's behavior, it was highly likely that they were planning on doing so. The Black Heaven sect's performance had been too domineering, and they had completely crushed the other orthodoxies. It was not impossible for these people to gang up on them. Thinking of this, countless people cursed him for being shameless. F***C, this is too shameless. 5 orthodoxies teaming up against the Black Heaven sect? Hey, are you kidding me? This is too much. I think the Black Heaven sect is doomed this time. But what if the Black Heaven sect wins? While many people cursed them for being shameless, they were also looking forward to it. Along the way, the Black Heaven sect had gained the upper hand with their overwhelming strength. Many people thought that the Black Heaven sect would win for sure, but now that something like this had happened, the situation was heading towards an unknown direction. They wanted to see if the Black Heaven sect could create a miracle in this desperate situation. Haha, 5 against 1, that's 25 against 5. Is this the style of the sage orthodoxies here? You've really opened my eyes. Chu Kuangren suddenly laughed out loud. However, everyone could hear the sarcasm in his words. Sect leader Chu, this is what they call the tallest tree in the forest. The Thunder Falcon tribe leader sneered. Sect leader Chu, please don't be angry. It's just a competition. All's fair in war. It's just an alliance. Sect leader Chu, don't tell me you're a sore loser. The other sage orthodoxies sect leaders chuckled. It seemed like they had silently agreed with the Sky Pride's actions. Although it was shameless to do so, the championship's rules did not say that the other orthodoxies could not join forces. The crowd looked at Chu Kuangren, anticipating his furious expression. However, they could not help but be stunned by what happened next. Other than mocking the orthodoxies earlier, Chu Kuangren's expression was calm from the beginning to the end. He did not look the slightest bit angry at all. Seeing this, the sage orthodoxies sect leaders felt like they had punched cotton, unable to exert any strength. Sect leader Chu, you really have a good temperament. To be able to remain so calm at a time like this, your self-restraint is admirable. The Linghu clan head said sarcastically. In other words, Chu Kuangren was pretending. I say, do you dare to make another bet? At that moment, Chu Kuangren suddenly said. The crowd was stunned when they heard that. No way again. Chu Kuangren had won 4.5 billion top-tier soul stones in the last round, and they had yet to recover from the pain. Now, Chu Kuangren wanted to make another bet with them. The sect leaders looked at each other, unsure if they should agree to it. Logically speaking, the Black Heaven sect should have no chance of winning against such a desperate situation. However, in the previous round, the crowd also thought that Murong Xian would not be able to defeat Li Yin. Yet he still won in the end. At that thought, the crowd did not dare to act recklessly. What's wrong? Are you afraid? I've won so many soul stones, are you guys so willing to give up on winning them back? Chu Kuangren sneered. Many people were infuriated when they heard that. Alright, I'll make another bet with you. I bet that the Black Heaven sect will not last until the end, so I'll still bet 100 million top-tier soul stones. The Linghu clan head said loudly. He was furious. I want to make a bet too. Humph, I don't believe that the Black Heaven sect can turn the tide again. The Overlord Sage tribe, Sky Emperor Palace, and Thunder Falcon tribe also voiced out. The other orthodoxies looked at each other. No one dared to make a bet with Chu Kuangren anymore. If they lost, they would not be able to afford it even if they were sage orthodoxies. Thunder Falcon tribe, Sky Emperor Palace, Linghu clan, and Overlord Sage tribe, it seems that you guys are the only ones left. Very well. Chu Kuangren smiled. Behind him, the few Taoists looked at each other helplessly. My heart won't be able to take it if I stay with you, sect leader. It's just too exciting, Zhuohan said. It turns out that gambling is addictive. Shang Qingshuo sighed too. They looked at the light screen. Behind the Blood Moon ancient towns, a few people were heading towards Jin Fian's direction. It seemed that they would meet soon. It seems that the Black Heaven sect will have to eliminate one of them first. The Linghu clan head sneered. Let's wait and see, Chu Kuangren said calmly. I want to see how far you can keep up the act. Chu Kuangren ignored the others. He looked at the light screen and realized that besides Jin Fian, Lan Yu, Murong Xian, and the others were also preparing to face the combined attack of the other orthodoxies. Chapter 298. Inside the Blood Moon ancient towns. Jin Fian was looking for someone based on the guidance of her longsword. Suddenly, she stopped in her tracks and her eyes narrowed. 3 figures appeared around her. They were the Sky Prides from the Thunder Falcon tribe, 8 Wind Palace, and Linghu clan. Jin Fian's mind raced as she quickly figured out what these orthodoxies were thinking. She could not help but chuckle. What are you laughing at? The Sky Pride from the Thunder Falcon tribe snorted. Nothing. It's just that this is the first time I'm being ganged up on by other Sky Prides. I feel a little proud and a little happy. Jin Fian smiled charmingly. So it's a crazy one. Let's go. The Sky Pride from the Thunder Falcon tribe snorted. They attacked from 3 directions at the same time. Sword chi, lightning energy, and fist strength were unleashed at the same time. The long sword at Jin Fian's waist was unsheathed with a clang, and a fiery red sword ray surged out with a scorching heat wave. Although Jin Fian had improved a lot under Chu Kuangren's training, it was still a tough fight for her. After exchanging a few blows, she dashed towards a certain direction. It's no use trying to escape. Everyone in the Blood Moon ancient towns is targeting the Black Heaven sect. Where do you think you can escape to? The 3 Sky Prides immediately gave chase. Jin Fian fought and retreated at the same time. On the other side, Murong Xian and Nangong Huang were also caught in a pincer attack from a few orthodoxies. Murong Xian, the Black Heaven sect is doomed to lose today. That's right. You won't be able to pass this round. On a certain tall building in the Blood Moon ancient towns, Lan Yu wore a gorgeous silver-white armor and held the scepter of light in her hand. Her wings were spread out, emitting a white light under the blood moon. An inviolable holy aura filled the void. Around her, there were 9 people. These 9 people were from various orthodoxies. Among them were the young emperors Lei Mingtian, Linghu Teng, and Li Yin. Lan Yu, let me fight you. Lei Mingtian, who was also a young emperor, was the first to attack. Violent bolts of lightning gathered in his palm before he blasted it out. Holy protection! A white barrier of light appeared around Lan Yu. Lei Mingtian's attack was blocked by the barrier of light. Next, Lan Yu raised her hand and unleashed a fist-sized ball of light. Everyone be careful! Lei Mingtian shouted. Everyone mobilized their spiritual energy in an attempt to block the ball of light. However, the ball of light suddenly exploded in Lan Yu's hand. Rays of dazzling white light exploded, forcing everyone to close their eyes. The moment they closed their eyes, Lan Yu made her move. Taking advantage of the fact that everyone was blinded by the white light, Lan Yu moved through the crowd at a speed that was beyond the perception of her spiritual sense. With every swing of the scepter of light, a genius would be sent flying with every strike, falling face first onto the ground. Not long after, the 9 heavens' favorites were sent flying. 3 of them lost the ability to fight and lay on the ground, moaning in pain. So powerful! As expected of the Yao summoning tower, 1 against 100. This kind of strength is indeed powerful. Lei Mingtian couldn't help but say seriously, "Heh, no matter what, I must make the Black Heaven sect suffer today." Lin sneered. He stepped forward and activated the Black Emperor indestructible physique. His entire body glowed with a metallic luster, and he threw a punch that caused the void to rumble. Scorching light. White flames appeared on Lan Yu's body and turned into a giant fireball that smashed through Li Yin's fist energy. The fireball landed on Li Yin's body and sent him flying with the Black Emperor indestructible physique's protection. After Li Yin was sent flying for dozens of feet, he smashed into a wall. The wall caved in from the impact. "It's useless. You can't hurt me." Li Yin stood up and laughed. He had learned his lesson this time. He knew that his weak point had been discovered by the Black Heaven sect, so he no longer used the Black Heaven Divine Spear. That way, his weak point would not appear. He could only rely on his indestructible physique to fight his opponent. But then he realized that something was not right. There were white flames burning on his body. Although they could not break through his defense, they were like maggots that could not be removed. Not only that, but the white flames were also continuously weakening his Black Emperor indestructible physique's Taoist rhyme. Although it was very slow, it was very effective. Li Yin's expression changed. What kind of flame is this? The Black Emperor indestructible physique is very powerful. Unfortunately, in the face of the scorching light, it can only be disintegrated. Lan Yu said calmly, "Be careful of this flame. Don't go head-on with it." Ling Huting said. He leaped into the air and released sword qi to attack Lan Yu from afar. The others did the same. They had the advantage in numbers. They did not need to defeat Lan Yu quickly. As long as they depleted her spiritual energy, victory would eventually belong to them. On the street, Jean Fian was dodging the attacks of 3 Sky Prides behind her. The 3 of them used sword qi, fist energy, and even the power of lightning to attack her. Jean Fian dodged left and right, occasionally counterattacking. If it was a one-on-one fight, she could easily defeat any one of the 3. However, when they teamed up, she was under a lot of pressure. "Jean Fian, you can't get away." The 3 Sky Prides chased after her relentlessly. "You'll get beaten up if you keep chasing girls like this." Jean Fian laughed. "I'd like to see how long you can laugh." The Thunder Falcon tribe's Sky Pride let out a low growl, and the violent power of thunder gathered in front of him, turning into a thick lightning pillar that blasted out. Jean Fian held her long sword in front of her and blocked it with her sword qi. However, the lightning still sent her flying hundreds of feet away. She crashed into a wall, and her face was pale. "Over there." Jean Fian did not continue to fight with them. Instead, she headed towards a certain direction. The Thunder Falcon tribe's Sky Pride was surprised. "I can't believe this delicate girl can still run away after taking my attack. Keep going. Let's see where she can run to." The Linghu clan's Sky Pride scoffed. The 3 of them continued their chase. A while later, sounds of fighting could be heard from the direction they were pursuing. Upon closer inspection, they saw a group of people chasing after a woman. The woman was none other than Black Heaven sect's Taoist, Jun Yi. What a coincidence! The Thunder Falcon tribe's Sky Pride laughed. He looked at Jean Fian, who was in front of him, and said, "You shall perish here with your fellow sect members." Jean Fian did not reply and sped up towards Jun Yi's direction. Compared to the 3 people who were chasing after Jean Fian, there were 5 people chasing after Jun Yi. The pressure on her was much greater than Jean Fian's, and it was obvious that she had sustained quite a few injuries. If it were not for the fact that they had been tortured by the sword qi clones during their training, they would have been defeated a long time ago. Jean Fian called out. Fian, you're finally here. Jun Yi, who was struggling to hold on, was overjoyed when she heard Jin Fian's voice. The two of them met up with their backs facing each other. Around them were 8 sky prides from different orthodoxies. Anyone with a discerning eye could see the difference in strength between them. Chapter 299. Sect Leader Chu, it looks like your Black Heaven sect's 2 female disciples are about to lose, Linghu clan head said with a smile. The other sect leaders looked at him too. No one thought that Jin Fian and Jun Yi could turn the tables. The difference in their strength was too great. 2 against 8. Moreover, their cultivation levels were no weaker than Jun Yi and Jin Fian. How could they possibly win in such a desperate situation? The audience was also discussing among themselves. Many of them were feeling sorry for the Black Heaven sect for being invincible, but they did not expect to be defeated by a few orthodoxies. Yes, they're going to lose. However, it's your disciples who are going to lose. Chu Kuangren smiled. The sect leaders could not help but shake their heads and laugh at his words. Wait guys, look. At that moment, someone looked at the light screen in surprise. Jun Yi and Jin Fian, who were originally in a desperate situation, each emitted an incredibly mysterious Taoist rhyme. One was as hot as fire, while the other was as gentle as water. The 2 completely different Taoist rhymes were supposed to oppose each other, but they were now nestled together in a strange way. 1,000 miles true flame heavens. 3,000 gentle water drowns the heavens. Jin Fian and Jun Yi shouted in unison, and terrifying sword chi shot out with the 2 of them as the center. The sword chi was formed by the fusion of 2 completely different Taoist rhymes, and its power was several times stronger than a single Taoist rhyme. Under the impact of this power, the 8 sky prides were sent flying. The sword chi that was closest to them had their flesh torn apart and their bones broken. They lost the ability to fight back on the spot. What's going on? How did their sword chi suddenly become so much stronger? It's a formation. This is some kind of joint attack formation. F***CK, what kind of joint attack formation is this powerful? Their sword chi's power has increased by at least 7 times. The sword chi on Jin Fian and Jun Yi's bodies circulated, and their Taoist rhymes resonated with each other. Under such circumstances, the sword chi that they unleashed individually was 7 to 8 times stronger, and their joint attack was even more terrifying. This is the first time I've used this ever-changing water-fiery yin-yang sword formation against an enemy. Looks like it's quite effective. Jin Fian smiled. She could feel that in the process of resonating with Jun Yi's Dao runes, an endless stream of energy was surging out of her body. Let's deal with them first, Jun Yi said lightly. All right. The 2 women struck at the same time. As he swung his long sword, a large amount of sword chi that contained the Taoist rhymes of water and fire circled in the air. The few sky prides present found it hard to defend against it. Falling in lightning. The Thunder Falcon tribe's sky pride shot out a black thunderbolt. However, it was shattered by a sword chi. The Taoist rhymes of water and fire wrapped around the sword chi, releasing red and blue rays of light that blasted his body. In the blink of an eye, the sky pride from the Thunder Falcon tribe was reduced to his original form. He spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground, unconscious. Clank, clank, clank. The sound of the guqin reverberated in the void as the young emperor of the Heaven Cord sect, Xianxia, plucked at the strings of the guqin in a frenzy. Countless guqin sound blades flew towards the 2 women. That sounds awful. It's not even 1/10,000th as good as the sect leader. Jin Fian frowned as she and Jun Yi attacked together. The 2 sword chis overlapped and transformed into a magnificent sword light. Countless zither sound blades were shattered one after another. The sword light slashed towards Xianxia, cutting the zither in his hand into 2 halves and even sending him flying. With just 1 sword attack, the young Emperor Xianxia was defeated. This sword formation, known as the Everlasting Waterfire Yin-Yang Polarity Transformation, struck fear into the hearts of all the sky prides present. Not long after, the 8 sky prides were all defeated by the 2 women. In the arena, all the sect leaders and sky prides stared at the scene in disbelief. They did not expect Jin Fian and Jun Yi to be able to unleash such terrifying power. What kind of sword formation is this? The Linghu clan head gulped. The Linghu clan was also a sword orthodoxy that was as famous as the Black Heaven sect. However, even the Linghu clan head had never heard of such a sword formation, let alone seen it with his own eyes. Rumor has it that Chu Kuangren also has a powerful sword formation called the Four-Season Sword Formation. Could he have inherited some formation grandmaster's inheritance? Otherwise, how could he have so many terrifying formations? The Overlord tribe leader said with a serious expression. The others also felt that it was possible the more they thought about it. In the skybox, Qin Wushuang finally understood why Chu Kuangren said that Jin Fian was more suitable than him for this round. It turned out that she could join forces with Jun Yi to unleash such a terrifying sword formation. But sect leader, when did they learn this sword formation? Qin Wushuang asked in surprise. Not long after the training started, I had them learn this sword formation. I even greatly reduced the time they had to fight the sword chi clones. Chu Kuangren smiled. The everlasting water-fire yin-yang polarity transformation sword formation was a starlight grade sword formation that he had obtained from the gacha roll. It required 2 sword cultivators who cultivated both fire-based and water-based swordsmanship to unleash it. It just so happened that Jin Fian and Jun Yi fulfilled this requirement. Since they were both Taoists, their cultivation level and strength were similar, and they were close friends, they had great chemistry. In just over 2 months, under Chu Kuangren's guidance, they could already use this sword formation quite well. Wait a minute, sect leader. The Blood Moon ancient towns are randomly teleported. If they can't find each other, doesn't that mean they can't use this sword formation? Qin Wushuang had another question. Did you notice the swords in their hands? Swords? Qin Wushuang glanced at them. They've changed their swords. They didn't use these 2 swords before. That's right. These 2 swords came from the Black Heaven Sword Mountain and were forged using a material called the yin-yang stone. They are categorized into a yin sword and a yang sword. Both swords can sense each other, so there's no need to worry that they can't find each other, Chu Kuangren said. Qin Wushuang came to a realization. I see. Sect leader, you're such a genius. Everything is under your control. I'm impressed. I'm just making the necessary preparations for the championship. What kind of genius is that? Don't flatter me, kid. Although Chu Kuangren said that, it was obvious from the slight smile on Chu Kuangren's face that he enjoyed Qin Wushuang's flattery. Compared to Chu Kuangren's satisfaction, the Overlord tribe leader, Linghu clan head, and the Thunder Falcon tribe leader had a much worse expression on their faces. They had a feeling that they would lose this time as well. They suppressed their uneasiness and continued to watch the battle. I don't believe that the others can win. That's right. We don't know who'll have the last laugh. They once again turned their attention back to the Blood Moon ancient towns. However, the situation was not as optimistic as they thought. In the ancient towns, the Sky Prides who had surrounded Lan Yu had almost been defeated. Apart from Li Yin, who was still struggling, the others were lying on the ground, wailing in pain. How is she so strong? Li Yin stared at Lan Yu in disbelief. At this time, Lan Yu had also suffered quite a few injuries. However, with the scepter of light in her hand, her aura was unstoppable and intimidating. Li Yin was shocked and felt a sense of fear. Chapter 300. Judgment of Light. Defeat. Lan Yu let out a soft cry as a majestic light-based Taoist rhyme erupted and formed into a white spear in her palm. Runes flowed on the spear, and it emanated a majestic yet destructive aura. The spear shot out like a ray of light in the dark night. Li Yin could not dodge it at all and had to take the attack head-on. Boom! A terrifying explosion of energy. Li Yin's Black Emperor indestructible physique was already weakened by the light burn. Now that it was hit by the judgment of light, the pitch-black Taoist rhyme on his body instantly disintegrated. The Black Emperor indestructible physique was shattered. Li Yin was defeated. After defeating all 7 Sky Prides, Lan Yu could not help but heave a sigh of relief. Her face turned pale and she could not help but half kneel on the ground. Her aura that was initially powerful had also weakened. Obviously, this battle had taken a lot out of her. Although there were only 7 Sky Prides, there were 2 young emperors, Ling Hu Teng and Lei Mingtian, as well as one of the 10 heroes, Li Yin. The other 4 Sky Prides were also top-notch young experts in the world. These 7 people together were enough to kill an Honorable Supreme. Not to mention a veteran Honorable Supreme. The 5 orthodoxies have joined forces to deal with the Black Heaven sect. Murong Xian and the others must be targeted too. I need to find them as soon as possible. Lan Yu thought to herself. She took out a medicinal pill and swallowed it. An incredibly rich medicinal strength instantly erupted and turned into surging spiritual power that was injected into her already dried-up spiritual mound. With the help of the medicinal pill, Lan Yu's complexion looked much better. She did not bother to adjust her breathing as she slowly converted her spiritual power and left the scene. In the skybox of the battle arena, the Ling Hu clan head, the Thunder Falcon tribe leader, and the others were dumbfounded. Cheating! Cheating! Lan Yu is cheating! The Ling Hu clan head yelled. Watch your mouth. How is she cheating? Chu Kuangren said coldly. Lan Yu used a medicinal pill. Isn't that cheating? The rules didn't state that we can't use medicinal pills. You guys can use them too, Chu Kuangren said calmly. Where do we have that kind of pill? A pill that can instantly restore a venerable spiritual power. Only an alchemy grandmaster can refine this kind of pill. Patriarch Ling Hu said in a deep voice. As an important cultivation resource, elixirs did indeed have a variety of uses. However, most elixirs required a refining process. The battlefield was ever-changing, so how could one use elixirs to recover? Just like the pill that Lan Yu had used, one pill was able to replenish more than half of her spiritual power. This kind of pill was simply too rare. At the critical juncture of life and death, it could be a life. Oh, you don't allow others to use it because you don't have it. Chu Kuangren sneered. Patriarch Ling Hu was rendered speechless. Rumor has it that Chu Kuangren is an alchemy grandmaster. It's very likely that he refined these pills for Lan Yu and the others. No wonder he's always been so fearless. It turns out that he has this trump card up his sleeves. The eyes of the Sky Emperor Palace Master and the Overlord Body Tribe leader sank down. A pill cultivating grandmaster was way too important for an orthodoxy. Deep down, they felt it was inconceivable. Chu Kuangren was so young, yet not only was his combat strength strong enough to kill a sage, but he was also an alchemy grandmaster. Was he still human? Inside the Blood Moon ancient town, Lan Yu was currently looking for Murong Xian and the others. Soon, she heard the fluctuations of battle coming from not far away. She saw Murong Xian and Nangong Huang in a bitter battle. Surrounded by 10 Sky Prides, their bodies were riddled with wounds. Without another word, she joined the battle. Although her spiritual power had not fully recovered after being replenished by the elixirs, it was at least 50 to 60%. Her vast light-based Taoist rhyme instantly erupted and blasted one of the Sky Prides away. At that moment, not far away, a red and blue sword ray intertwined and swept towards another Sky Prides, sending them flying as well. It was Jun Yi and Jin Fian. The 5 Sky Prides of the Black Heaven sect had all gathered. The 5 of them stood together. Even though they were riddled with wounds, their eyes were fearless as they looked at the surrounding Sky Prides who were attacking them. No one can stop the Black Heaven sect. Even if all 5 orthodoxies join forces, what's there to be afraid of? Murong Xian laughed as the spiritual power on his body surged and turned into 7 fireballs that floated in midair like the sun. Come and fight! With a loud shout, the 7 fireballs shot out one after another. Nangong Huang was not to be outdone either. His eyes glowed with divine yin-yang light as he injected sword qi into his eyes, forcing 2 Sky Prides to retreat. Divine rain of light. Watch out for my sword formation. The divine light energy and the ever-changing water and fire yin-yang sword formation exploded at the same time, sweeping across the entire battlefield. The battle strength of the 5 from the Black Heaven sect shocked the entire audience in the arena. Everyone held their breaths as they watched the battle. Time passed. In less than half an hour. Blood Moon ancient towns, under the blood-colored moonlight. Lan Yu, Murong Xian, Nangong Huang, Jun Yi and Jin Fian were riddled with wounds, but they still stood tall. The murderous aura around their bodies was breathtaking, as if they were 5 invincible gods of war. Around the 5 of them, the sky prides from the other 5 orthodoxies were already lying on the ground, moaning in pain. The Black Heaven sect had won a 1 versus 5 battle. In the arena, when the spectators saw this scene and looked at the 5 people who were standing tall, they only felt their hearts surging, and it was difficult for them to control themselves. When the 5 of them walked out of the Blood Moon ancient towns and were transported back to the Blood Moon ancient towns, the entire arena erupted in cheers. Black Heaven sect. Black Heaven sect. Black Heaven sect. At this moment, even though Lan Yu and the others were injured, they were still dazzling in the eyes of the audience. This was the respect and yearning for the strong. Faced with the cheers of the audience, Lan Yu looked fine. Apart from looking a little tired, there were no obvious emotional changes. The others were different. They opened their arms and enjoyed the cheers of the audience, accepting the glory that belonged to them, especially Jin Fian, who was waving and blowing kisses to the audience. She was extremely excited. At this moment, the 12th prefect slowly stood up and gulped. He said with a trembling voice, "Group Delta's 4th round has ended. The winners, Black Heaven sect. A total of 250 points. 250 points. This represented the 25 Sky Prides who lost to Lan Yu and the others. This was the highest number of points that could be obtained in the 4th round. Other than the Black Heaven sect, no one else could achieve this. This was because no other orthodoxy could force the other 5 orthodoxies to team up against them like the Black Heaven sect did. 250 points, plus the previous 235 points, that's a total of 485 points. This far exceeds the points of the other orthodoxies. The champion will definitely be the Black Heaven sect. That's right, the Black Heaven sect is invincible. This is amazing. I didn't expect such a dark horse to appear in this championship. They've left everyone else in the dust. With Chu Kuangren and these Taoists in the Black Heaven sect, I can't imagine how strong the Black Heaven sect will be in the future. Chapter 301. In the 4th segment, the 5 representatives of the Black Heaven sect had defeated all 5 orthodoxies. That feat had caused a huge uproar among the audience. While everyone was chanting the Black Heaven sect's name, Chu Kuangren went up to them and cast the Spring Breeze healing technique on them without saying a word. The gentle spring breeze quickly healed the injuries on their bodies. Very soon, their exhausted bodies were as good as new. This technique made everyone's heart palpitate. They did not know how many more tricks Chu Kuangren had hidden up his sleeves. The person before them was just too unpredictable. Now, would you like to sign an IOU? Chu Kuangren looked at the Linghu clan head and the others. Jun Yi's eyes lit up when she heard that. Sect leader, did you make another bet with them? That's right. The Linghu clan head and the others were too enthusiastic. They fought to give me soul stones, so I had no choice but to accept them. Chu Kuangren laughed. Everyone was so angry that their lungs were about to explode. However, they could not do anything about it. How much did you win this time? Jun Yi asked expectantly. Let me see. The Linghu clan head and I bet 100 million, the Sky Palace Lord 500 million, the Thunder Falcon tribe 300 million, and the Overlord Sage tribe 300 million. That's a total of 1.2 billion top-tier soul stones, Chu Kuangren said with a smile. Everyone's eyes lit up when they heard that. The previous 4.5 billion and the current 1.2 billion would add up to 5.7 billion top-tier soul stones. Even for a sage orthodoxy, that was a terrifying number. 5.7 billion top-tier soul stones. I'm afraid the total value of all the prizes in the championship is only 200 to 300 million top-tier soul stones. Sect leader, you've won 5.7 billion in one bet. That's terrifying. Nangong Huang gulped and said, in the history of the Black Heaven sect, no sect leader had ever achieved such a feat, Not only is the sect leader the youngest in the history of the Black Heaven sect, but he's also the best at making money. That's amazing. Jun-E was amazed and her eyes were filled with admiration. Then, the Linghu clan head and the others signed another IOU under Chu Kuangren's domineering aura. This time, not only them, but even the sages behind them were trembling in pain. Everyone, if you want to bet again, feel free to look for me. Chu Kuangren chuckled. Everyone almost vomited blood when they heard that. Next time? Just these 2 times had already greatly damaged their vitality. If there was a 3rd time, they would probably have to pay for the loss of their orthodoxy's base. Everyone, the group stage is over. Next up will be the semifinals, which will be held in 2 days. The 4 orthodoxies participating in the semifinals are the Overlord Sage Tribe from Group A, the Tempest Mountain from Group B, the Sky Emperor Palace from Group C, and the Black Heaven Sect from Group D. The 12th prefect's voice came from the judge's booth. Upon hearing that, Chu Kuangren chuckled and said, "This is bad. It seems like these 3 orthodoxies are not very friendly towards our Black Heaven sect. Don't tell me they're going to join forces against us again? How scary." Although he said that, there was not the slightest hint of fear on his face. Or rather, it was mockery. Indeed, the Overlord Sage Tribe, Sky Emperor Palace, and Tempest Mountain did not have a good relationship with the Black Heaven sect. Tempest Mountain was one of the best sword orthodoxies in Firmament Star, so there was no lack of friction between them. Chu Kuangren had forced the Overlord Sage Tribe's Grey Grill Sage to sever his own arm, and the young Emperor Chang Tian was even taught a lesson by Chu Kuangren in front of everyone. As for the Sky Emperor Palace, they did not have a grudge against them. However, after 2 bets, even if they did not have a grudge against them, they would be forced to do so. The other orthodoxies had lost 1 or 200 million soul stones, but the Sky Emperor Palace had lost 1.5 billion soul stones and 2 sage weapons. On top of that, all of their cultivation techniques were unconditionally available to Chu Kuangren. However, who could they blame for that? It was their fault for coveting the godly phoenix. Chu Kuangren, I'll see you in the semifinals. The Overlord Sage Tribe leader snorted before he turned around and left. The Tempest Mountain sect leader and the Sky Emperor Palace lord also gave Chu Kuangren a meaningful look before they left with their respective sky prides. The championship entered the preparation stage of the semifinals. The names of the 4 orthodoxies that were participating in the semifinals had also spread throughout the first city, especially the Black Heaven sect, who was known by everyone. Currently, in the streets and alleys of the first city, cultivators of all sizes were discussing the Black Heaven sect's impressive performance in the championship. Lan Yu, Nangong Huang, and the other names were even more well-known. On this day, Lan Yu came out of her cultivation state. She sensed the power within her body and murmured, "I can't believe that the continuous battles have pushed me to the threshold of a late-stage honorable." At this point, she was only 1 step away from becoming a late-stage honorable. After that, she would be able to become an honorable. With her talent and Chu Kuangren's years of training, she would probably be able to compete with a boundary sage once she became an honorable. Except for Lan Yu. Nangong Huang and the others had more or less gained some benefits from their battles with the other sky prides. Other things aside, their Taoist core alone was enough to keep them in a state of vigorous improvement in their cultivation from now on. 2 days passed. Soon it was over. The familiar entrance, the familiar cheers. After 2 days, Chu Kuangren and the others returned to the arena. Sect leader, look, the 13th prefect is back. At that moment, Jun-E pointed at the judge's booth and said. Chu Kuangren looked over. At the judge's booth, the 13th prefect, who had left in anger after losing 100 million soul stones to Chu Kuangren, was once again sitting at the judge's booth. "Ignore him," Chu Kuangren said. "All right." Chu Kuangren looked around him again. He realized that other than the orthodoxies who were participating in the semifinals, the other orthodoxies were there too. They probably wanted to watch the entire championship before leaving. At the judge's booth, the 13th prefect stood up and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the semifinals of the Sky Pride Championship. Before the semifinals begin, I'd like to clarify a few things. Based on the discussions between us and the judges over the past 2 days, we've added 2 more points to the original rules. First, the point system will be abolished. The winner will no longer be determined by the number of points earned. From now on, all orthodoxy's points will be invalid. At that, the audience was in an uproar. Everyone could tell who this rule was aimed at. It was the Black Heaven sect, which had the highest points among the orthodoxies. F***ck me, what kind of rule is this? They worked so hard to earn their points, why should it be abolished? This is so unfair. Sigh, the organizers can't do anything about it. Who would have thought that the Black Heaven sect could earn so many points? If they don't abolish this rule, there's no way to compete at all. They could have just given the championship to the Black Heaven sect. That's true. The Overlord Sage Tribe, Tempest Mountain, and Sky Emperor Palace had no objections to the abolition of the point system. In fact, they were all in favor of it. Otherwise, they would not be able to compete with the Black Heaven sect in terms of points. It's fine to abolish the point system. I think it's meaningless to win too easily anyway. However, if you just abolish the points we worked so hard for, it'll be hard to explain without some compensation, right? Chu Kuangren said to the 13th prefect. Of course. As compensation, the Black Heaven sect with the highest points will have the right to choose their opponent in the semifinals, the 13th prefect said. In other words, I can choose any orthodoxy to be my opponent, right? That's right. This compensation is as good as nothing. Chu Kuangren sneered before he swept his gaze across the 3 orthodoxies of the Overlord Sage Tribe. Let's pick the Overlord Sage Tribe then. Chu Kuangren did not have any intention to target them. He just randomly picked one. Chapter 302. Oh, just as well. My Overlord Sage Tribe will not let you get past the semifinals, the Overlord Sage Tribe leader said after glancing at Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren yawned. I've heard too many harsh words. It's better for you to prove your strength with your actions. There's one more thing. At this moment, the 13th prefect continued, for the sake of fairness, all medicinal pills are prohibited in this competition. Upon hearing that, Chu Kuangren's gaze turned cold. First, you're going to abolish the point system, then you're going to ban the use of medicinal pills. Do you want my Black Heaven sect disciples to tie up their hands and feet to compete with you? Please don't be angry, sect leader Chu. This is all for the sake of fairness in the competition. After all, the Black Heaven sect's pills are really against the rules for the other participants, the 13th prefect said calmly. Sect leader, even without the pills, we can still win this competition. Just you wait, Murong Xian said with determination. That's right. There's no meaning in winning too easily. Nangong Huang added. They had long decided to bring the champion of the championship back to the Black Heaven sect as a token of gratitude to Chu Kuangren. Therefore, no matter what difficulties they encountered, they would not retreat. Chu Kuangren took a deep breath, glanced at the 13th prefect and said, You guys are the judges. Whatever you say goes. He chose to respect the decisions of Nangong Huang and the rest. If there are no objections, then let the competition begin. This semifinal will be a best-of-3 system. Each side will send out 3 people, and whoever wins 2 matches first will advance to the finals. The 13th prefect said. The rules of the competition were very simple. Very soon, the semifinals began. Sect leader, let me go first. Nangong Huang twisted his neck and said eagerly. All right. Chu Kuangren agreed. On the arena, Nangong Huang's opponent was the Overlord Sage Tribe's Bachelor Sage. Chu Kuangren was quite familiar with that person. It was the Holy Sun Changyuan whom he had met on the street that day. The Eye of Revelation opened. Chu Kuangren analyzed the strength of both sides. Nangong Huang's winning rate is as high as 80%. He smiled. It seemed that this so-called Holy Sun Changyuan was also a rookie. Nangong Huang took out his long sword and hooked his finger at Holy Sun Changyuan. Humph, arrogant. Holy Sun Changyuan roared, and a black violent airflow suddenly burst out from the surface of his body. This was the Overlord physique unique to the Overlord physique clan. The Overlord physique was one of the 3,000 physiques. Although it was not comparable to the top-notch Taoist physique, the probability of it appearing in the Overlord Sage tribe was very high. Almost every Sky Pride could obtain the Overlord physique. This was a very terrifying thing, and it was also the main reason why the Overlord Sage tribe could dominate the Black Warrior domain. Brilliant heaven-shaking fist. Holy Sun Chang Yuan knew that Nangong Huang's strength was extraordinary, so he immediately used one of the most powerful sage techniques in his clan. He threw a punch, and the violent strength chi formed a torrent, wrapped in Taoist rhymes, wind and sand, like a black tornado, blasted towards Nangong Huang. In the face of such a powerful attack, Nangong Huang did not panic. Instead, yin-yang divine light circulated in his eyes. The power of the yin-yang god eye was activated. Yin-yang divine light, ocean wave sword art. A surge of yin-yang divine light and endless Taoist rhymes merged with his sword chi, and the surging sword chi gushed out like a tide. In the face of such power, Holy Sun Chang Yuan's sage technique was obviously inferior. At the moment of impact, his fist force could not advance any further. Instead, it was continuously pushed back by the impact of the sword chi. How is this possible? Holy Sun Chang Yuan's expression changed drastically. However, after the power of the sword chi broke through the fist force, it was already right in front of him. He quickly activated the Overlord physique's ability, and spiritual energy mixed with the unique black aura of the Overlord physique formed a black-golden barrier in front of him. The sword chi kept hitting the barrier. The barrier let out a cracking sound, and in less than 2 breaths' time, cracks appeared on it before it finally shattered. Holy Sun Chang Yuan was blasted back dozens of feet by the impact of the sword chi. Although he was not seriously injured, he was still in a rather sorry state. More importantly, Nangong Huang followed up with another attack. Even though he had the upper hand, he did not hold back and used all his strength. There was already a gap between their cultivation levels. In addition, Nangong Huang had read about Holy Sun Chang Yuan before, so he knew his opponent's moves and weaknesses like the back of his hand. There was almost no suspense in this battle. Bang! With a slash of the sword, Holy Sun Chang Yuan was blasted away and smashed into the wall of the arena. Even though he had the Overlord physique and had a strong physical body, he was already riddled with scars from Nangong Huang's continuous attacks. He fell to the ground and tried to prop himself up, but in the end, he could only lie on the ground unwillingly and could no longer stand up. Nangong Huang had won this battle. Damn it! The Overlord tribe leader was so angry that he punched the wall of the spectator stand. More than half of the wall of the spectator stand was directly smashed by him. He said with a gloomy expression, "How could this be? Chang Yuan's strength is second only to Chang Tian. How could he be defeated so quickly?" That Nangong Huang seems to have seen through Chang Yuan's moves. What's going on? The Overlord Sage tribe's various cultivation techniques were all kept secret, and Chang Yuan cultivated the most top-notch sage technique in the tribe. Even in the Overlord Sage tribe, not many people knew that technique. How did Nangong Huang know his opponent's moves and weaknesses? This Black Heaven sect is just too strange. The sect leaders and sky prides of the orthodoxies could not help but mutter. They had also noticed the strangeness of this battle, and when they thought about how Chu Kuangren could easily see through Li Yin's flaws, a ridiculous thought suddenly popped into their minds. Could it be that Chu Kuangren could see through their cultivation techniques and flaws? Wasn't this ability a little too overpowered? The crowd shook their heads and quickly threw that ridiculous thought to the back of their minds. However, they were even more afraid of Chu Kuangren now. The semi-finals continued. Due to Chang Yuan's defeat, the Overlord Sage tribe would not be able to advance to the finals if they lost another round. Hence, they immediately sent out their strongest cultivator, Chang Tian. Looking at young Emperor Chang Tian in the arena, Lan Yu, who was beside Chu Kuangren, had a stern look in her eyes. "Master, let me fight this round." "All right." Chu Kuangren nodded. Lan Yu leaped down from the skybox, and with a flash of white light, a gorgeous silver-white armor had already covered her body. An incredibly cold holy aura emanated and turned into a majestic domineering aura that crushed towards Chang Tian. Young Emperor Lan Yu, I've always wanted to fight you. Chang Tian snorted coldly as a purple palm chi circled around his body. An overbearing Taoist rhyme emanated and fought against Lan Yu's domineering aura. It was the Overlord Sage tribe's rare purple-blooded Overlord physique, which was also one of the top 30 supreme Taoist physiques among the 3,000 physiques. Let's fight. Without another word, Chang Tian attacked with all his might. Purple sword chi condensed on his fist and a peerlessly domineering Taoist rhyme filled the air. As he threw a punch, a purple fist seal appeared out of thin air and charged towards Lan Yu with an unstoppable force. Lan Yu remained calm in the face of that attack. She gently tapped the scepter in her hand on the ground, and a white barrier appeared. Chapter 303. Boom. Chang Tian's fist energy landed on the white barrier in front of Lan Yu. With a loud bang, Lan Yu was sent flying hundreds of feet away. The violent shockwave swept in all directions, stirring up a cloud of dust and obscuring everyone's vision. Chang Tian smirked. Even an honorable supreme wouldn't feel good after taking my attack. This is the power of the purple-blooded overlord body. Lan Yu, you're going to lose this battle for sure. I'm the strongest young emperor in the world. Everyone was shocked by Chang Tian's combat strength. They did not expect Lan Yu, who had been so strong all this while, to be sent flying by a single punch. As expected of the strongest young emperor. Impressive. Yeah, Chang Tian's performance in the championship was also very dazzling. He has never lost a single battle, so he might really be stronger than Lan Yu. As the crowd discussed among themselves, the dust settled. Lan Yu stood there, patted the dust off her armor and said calmly, "The strongest young emperor in the world? You can't even take a single slap from Master, yet you dare to spout nonsense here. Where do you get your confidence from?" Although Chang Tian had shattered the white barrier with a single punch, she was unscathed. Her armor was still shiny and beautiful. Hearing Lan Yu's words, Chang Tian's face turned extremely gloomy. The purple energy around his body began to stir, and a violent Taoist rhyme spread out with him as the center. "Provoking me will only make your defeat worse." Chang Tian growled and continued to attack. One punch after another, each punch was ferocious and domineering. They were all top-notch sage techniques of the Overlord Sage tribe. Divine Rain of Light. Lan Yu held her scepter and unleashed her light-based Taoist rhyme. A huge white ball of light formed and shot out beams of light that resembled raindrops, colliding with Chang Tian's fist energy. The void was disturbed by the two forces, causing it to tremble. After the first round of attacks, just as Chang Tian was about to charge for the second round of attacks, Lan Yu stomped on the ground and shot out like a cannonball. She raised her scepter and smashed it down. "Trying to fight me in close combat." Chang Tian's charge-up was interrupted, but he did not panic. He took a step back and dodged Lan Yu's attack, which was using the scepter as a club. The scepter smashed into the ground, and the violent force instantly caused the ground to cave in. A large amount of soil and rocks were mixed with the strong wind and splashed out. Chang Tian's vision was obscured by the rocks. He then felt a sharp pain in his abdomen before he was sent flying uncontrollably. "Who did you say was stupid?" Lan Yu looked at the sky and said calmly. The winged humans were brave and good at fighting. Every single one of them was a natural-born warrior, and Lan Yu was one of the best. Although the Overlord tribe was also good at fighting, Chang Tian was still a level lower than Lan Yu when it came to fighting skills alone. Damn it! Chang Tian gritted his teeth. Although he had the Overlord body and Lan Yu's attack did not deal much damage to him, it had still embarrassed him. The spiritual energy in his body surged and the purple chi force exploded, turning into a giant palm that descended from the sky towards Lan Yu. Firmament God Palm. Lan Yu was locked on by the palm's Taoist rhyme, so she could not dodge it. She raised the scepter in her hand to the sky, and a majestic light-based Taoist rhyme exploded, blocking the palm attack. Brilliant heaven-shaking fist. Chang Tian's Taoist rhyme exploded again as he threw a punch. Lan Yu held the scepter in one hand to block the palm attack, and with the other, she gathered the spiritual energy in her body and turned it into a white fireball to block the fist force. Several bursts of energy exploded at the same time, and the entire arena shook violently as a violent energy storm filled the void. The battle between Lan Yu and Chang Tian was still going on. Both of them could be said to be the strongest young emperors in the world. They both possessed the primordial emperor's essence and supreme Taoist physique. Their battle was so intense that it was as if two top-notch honorable supremes were fighting each other. Every move they made and every technique they used had the power to shake mountains and rivers, and it was extremely terrifying. Everyone's eyes were glued to this battle. Sand and rocks were swirling in the wind, and the void was shaking. The vast holy Taoist rhyme and the violent overlord body's Taoist rhyme clashed fiercely. "I'm the strongest young emperor. You shall be defeated." Chang Tian roared as he threw a punch. He had pushed his purple-blooded overlord body to its limit, and rays of purple energy surrounded his body to form a gigantic palm that pushed forward. The palm seemed to hold the mountains, rivers, the sun, and the moon, and it was extremely terrifying. Purple-blooded overlord body's transformation, Heaven's Grasp. Lan Yu's body emitted an endless divine radiance as she faced the Taoist physique transformation before her. She also activated her Taoist physique transformation to fight against it. The endless radiance and the gigantic palm collided, and a loud explosion erupted. The collision of the two Taoist transformations formed a storm that spread out, and the spectators felt as if they were about to be blown away. What a powerful force! Is this the scene of a battle between supreme Taoist physiques? In the spectator stands, the Sky Prides had their eyes glued to the battle. In the Sky Emperor Palace's direction, Sky Pride Chang Ao watched the battle with a serious expression. No matter who these two are, their combat strength is no weaker than mine. They are formidable opponents. At the Black Heaven sect. Sect leader, Lan Yu looks like she's having a hard time. Murong Xian said with a frown. Don't worry. Lan Yu will definitely win this battle. Mysterious Taoist runes flickered in the depths of Chu Kuangren's eyes as he quickly analyzed Lan Yu's chances of winning this battle. 71%. Lan Yu had more than a 70% chance of winning this battle. Moreover, Lan Yu had already figured out Chang Tian's weakness. This battle was settled. Judgment of Light. Lan Yu grabbed the void with her bare hands, and a large amount of light gathered in her palm, forming a dazzling divine spear. The divine spear shot out. It streaked across the sky and headed straight for Chang Tian. Brilliant heaven-shaking fist. Chang Tian pushed his purple-blooded overlord body to its limit and unleashed a punch. An extremely violent aura gushed out like a torrent and turned into a giant fist. Under the enhancement of the transformations, both of their combat strengths were greatly boosted. They were extremely terrifying and powerful. The divine spear and the fist followed one after another, and their chi surged out like a hurricane. White and purple chi surged out in all directions. With a cracking sound, a crack appeared on the huge fist seal. The crack expanded and gradually covered the entire fist seal. Then, the white divine spear pierced through the fist and into Chang Tian's chest. The huge force sent him flying and pinned him onto the wall of the arena. The crowd could not help but gasp. F***ck me. That hurts. This move is too cruel. Chang Tian could not help but roar as he was pinned to the wall by the divine spear. Ah, Lan Yu, I'm going to kill you. Chang Tian had awakened his purple-blooded overlord body at birth and had experienced thousands of battles. However, he had never been in such a sorry state, pinned to the wall in front of millions of spectators. Even Chu Kuangren had not done this before. He tried his best to pull the divine spear out, but the light-based Taoist rhyme on it was destroying his meridians and body, making it difficult for him to channel his spiritual power. No matter what he did, he could not move the divine spear at all. The strongest young emperor? What a joke! Lan Yu walked up to Chang Tian and said, Chapter 304. We admit defeat in this battle. Seeing that Chang Tian was pinned to the wall and that his life would be in danger if he was not treated in time, the Overlord tribe leader could no longer sit still. The competition could be lost, but the heavens could not die. That was the only supreme Taoist physique in the Overlord Sage tribe. The Overlord tribe leader appeared in the arena with a whoosh. He pulled the divine spear out of Chang Tian's body and glared at Lan Yu. Lan Yu was fearless. Given her current battle prowess, even a veteran honorable supreme like the Overlord tribe leader might not be able to defeat her if quasi-sages and sages did not make a move. Winner, Lan Yu from Black Heaven Sect. The 13th prefect said. Black Heaven Sect had advanced to the finals. Before this, the Black Heaven Sect had never been defeated. Their dazzling results shocked everyone in the audience. Next was the semifinals between Sky Emperor Palace and Tempest Mountain. Chu Kuangren and the others watched for a while. In the end, the Sky Emperor Palace was the winner of this match. It's confirmed, our final opponent is the Sky Emperor Palace. Chu Kuangren chuckled. He looked in the direction of the Sky Emperor Palace Lord and saw the cold look in his eyes. Black Heaven Sect, I'm looking forward to the finals tomorrow. I think the results will disappoint you. Looks like you guys have victory in your hands. To be honest, I really don't think that the Sky Emperor Palace's geniuses can defeat us. Chu Kuangren glanced at the Sky Prides in the opposing camp. Their overall strength was about the same as the Overlord Sage tribe. The Black Heaven Sect had a very high chance of winning. Then let's wait and see. The Sky Emperor Palace Lord snorted lightly and left. That night, in the sky above Fur City, there was a lake on a floating island. There was a pavilion in the middle of the lake. A middle-aged man dressed in black sat in the pavilion with an indifferent expression. In front of him were drinks and snacks, as if he was waiting for someone. After a while, ripples appeared in the void. A man slowly walked over, stepping on the moonlight. The man's face was tough and his every move exuded a sense of nobility. Heavenly King Zhang of the Sky Emperor Palace. I wonder what business you have with me? The black-robed man within the pavilion smiled faintly. Heavenly King was an honorific title for saints in the Sky Emperor Palace. Heavenly King Zhang was the sage of the Sky Emperor Palace. As for the others, they generally referred to him as Heavenly King Sage Zhang. Third prefect, you should be aware of the progress of the championship. The 11th prefect and the others are in charge of this matter. It has nothing to do with me. The man in black, who was the third prefect, smiled faintly. You're the first city's saint and you're ranked third among the 13 prefects. You hold an esteemed position, and while the first prefect is in closed-door cultivation and the second prefect isn't around, you're in charge of the first city. You're much more useful than the 13 prefects, said Heavenly Emperor Zhang. Sit. The third prefect gestured with his hand. Heavenly Emperor Sage Zhang sat in front of him and said indifferently, I'm here today for one thing only. My Heavenly Emperor Palace has to win. The Sky Emperor Palace's opponent is the Black Heaven Sect, right? Those few brats are indeed extraordinary. It won't be easy for the Sky Emperor Palace to win, but isn't it normal to win and lose in a competition? I said, the Sky Emperor Palace wants to win. Heavenly King Sage Zhang said resolutely. So you're asking me to cheat for you? This will damage the first city's reputation, said the third prefect. As far as I know, the third prefect isn't someone who values reputation. As long as there's profit to be had. This was also the reason why Heavenly Emperor Sage Zhang came looking for the third prefect. If the first city was in the hands of the second prefect or the first prefect, he would not have come. Unfortunately, the first prefect was in closed-door cultivation and the second prefect was out traveling. The first city was now in the hands of the third prefect. What kind of profit? I heard that the third prefect has been searching for the ethereal rapture all these years. You know clues about the ethereal rapture? The third prefect's eyes lit up. Indeed. The ethereal rapture is one of the unknown lands. Not many people know its exact location. How did the Sky Emperor Palace find out? Although the unknown lands are hidden from the world, they're not completely cut off from the outside world. Every once in a while, the unknown lands will send their young disciples out into the world. The world calls them Empyrean Walkers. According to the ancient records, one of the ancestors of the Sky Emperor Palace was fortunate enough to be acquainted with an Empyrean Walker from the ethereal rapture. He even told the Sky Emperor Palace the exact location of the ethereal rapture. Heavenly Emperor Sage Xiang said slowly. The third prefect could not help but fall into deep thought after listening to him. He was tempted. For some reason, he had been searching for the ethereal rapture all these years. However, as an unknown land, even a sage like him could not find it that easily. He had not found anything even after so long. Now that the clues about the ethereal rapture were right in front of him, it was impossible for him not to be tempted. I'll find a way for the Sky Emperor Palace to win tomorrow's competition. I hope Sage Xiang can tell me how to get to the ethereal rapture. Of course, but I'm a little curious. Why are you so obsessed with the ethereal rapture? Third prefect. Heavenly Emperor Sage Xiang asked. That's my personal matter, so I won't tell you, Sage Xiang. However, I didn't expect the Black Heaven sect to put so much pressure on the Sky Emperor Palace that Sage Xiang would come looking for me, the third prefect said. Chu Kuangren has won 5 billion top-tier soul stones and 2 sage weapons from the Sky Emperor Palace. On top of that, the Sky Emperor Palace wants to open up all of our cultivation techniques to him. Do you think I can take this lying down? Heavenly Emperor Sage Xiang said coldly. As if sensing the third prefect's emotions, ripples began to form on the surface of the lake. One by one, the fishes could not withstand the sage's aura, so they died and floated to the surface. Chu Kuangren is indeed terrifying. In the past 150,000 years, it's hard to find another sky pride that can be mentioned in the same breath as him. At the mention of Chu Kuangren, even a sage like the third prefect could not help but exclaim. To be honest, if the Sky Emperor Palace had not offered the clues about the ethereal rapture in exchange, he would not want to offend Chu Kuangren. The next day, the final match of the championship. Countless people were looking forward to the match between the Black Heaven sect and the Sky Emperor Palace. Wow, there's a lot more spectators than a few days ago. When Chu Kuangren and the others walked into the arena, they could not help but exclaim. At this time, the arena was packed with people. The number of people had increased by a large margin compared to when they first arrived. It was obvious that everyone was very interested in the final match. Some of the people who had not watched the first few rounds of the championship came to watch. Everyone, let's cut to the chase. Let's begin the final round of the championship. It's still the best of 3. However, the venue this time will be the Thousand Mammoths Secret Realm. The 13th prefect waved his hand, and a circle of light and dozens of light screens suddenly appeared on the arena. Some of the light screens were of deserts, some were caves, and some were even murky swamps. The Thousand Mammoths Secret Realm is divided into dozens of different scenes. The contestants will be sent to these scenes to fight until one side admits defeat or is unable to fight anymore. The final winner will be the champion of this championship. All the prizes sponsored by the Sage Orthodoxies will be won by the winner. Now, let the competition begin. Chapter 305. Why did they have to use such a huge arena instead of the 10,000 Secret Realm? What the hell are they trying to do? Chu Kuangren frowned. Chu Kuangren, it's already a miracle that the Black Heaven sect managed to come this far. However, we shall be the champion today. The Sky Emperor Palace Lord said to Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren glanced at him. The Overlord Sage Tribe leader said the same thing before, but his young emperor ended up pinned to the wall. Let's wait and see then. The Sky Emperor Palace Lord was not angry. He smiled faintly, looking as if victory was already in his grasp, as if he had something to rely on. I think there's something fishy about this finals. Chu Kuangren rubbed his chin as he scanned the Sky Emperor Palace's sky prides. He activated his Eye of Revelation. These sky prides did not change much. Their strengths were still the same. Compared to Nangong Huang and the others, Nangong Huang and the others still had a higher chance of winning. Where did the Sky Emperor Palace Lord get his confidence from? At that thought, Chu Kuangren looked at the judges. Did they bribe the judges? No way. Are these sage orthodoxies that shameless? Besides, even if they did, can they still distort the truth in front of everyone? Chu Kuangren thought to himself. While he was deep in thought, the matches had already begun. The Sky Emperor Palace's first representative was Jing Yan. Sect leader, let me go first. Jun Yi smiled. She had witnessed Jing Yan's strength in the previous matches, so she was confident that she could defeat her. Chu Kuangren compared the information of both parties. If it was a one-on-one battle, Jun Yi's chances of winning were more than 80%. After some thought, he agreed. Be careful. All right. Jun Yi nodded and walked into the arena. She and Jing Yan looked at each other and walked into the circle of light together. When they reappeared, they were already in a spacious underground cave. Dim candlelight flickered around them. Jun Yi looked around and found that the stone walls of the cave contained some kind of strange material, like some kind of ore. Could this be a mineral vein? Jun Yi thought to herself. At that moment, a palm chi came whistling from behind her. A sword appeared in Jun Yi's hand, and with a backhand slash, a water-blue sword chi disintegrated the palm chi, and she used the momentum to retreat several dozen feet. Opposite her, Jing Yan, who was dressed in red, was staring at her. Her entire body was circulating with a surging Taoist rhyme as she raised her hand and launched another palm attack. Is this the Sky Emperor Palace's Saint technique, 6 combined palms? Jun Yi recognized this palm technique and counterattacked with her sword. The long sword danced, and the aqua-blue sword light seemed to transform into endless waves. It was the Saint technique, tidal sword technique. She cultivated the water-based sword principle, so this set of sword techniques was very compatible with her. The power she displayed was even stronger than Nangong Huang's. The unceasing sword energy disintegrated the palm energy. Jing Yan's expression changed abruptly as she could not help but be slammed into the stone wall by the sword energy. Such powerful sword chi. Jing Yan was secretly shocked. If you don't want to suffer, then admit defeat. Jun Yi said lightly. Admit defeat? How is that possible? Jing Yan took out a guqin. I'll let you witness the power of the Sky Emperor Palace's #1 guqin technique, the Honorable Emperor Tune. The moment she took out the guqin, Jun immediately attacked. Sword energy surrounded her like a tsunami. Jing Yan's expression changed as she played with all 10 of her fingers. The sound of the guqin reverberated in the underground cave. It was vast and majestic, like the arrival of an emperor, causing the entire underground cave to shake. The violent sound of the guqin shattered the sword energy around Jun Yi and pushed her back in an instant. The hand that was holding the sword was trembling slightly. How is this possible? Jun Yi could not believe it. She had seen Jing Yan's guqin music in the competition before, but the power of her guqin music was far from this level. How did it suddenly become so much stronger? Even Jing Yan herself could not believe it, let alone Jun Yi. What's going on? Wait a minute. Jing Yan suddenly noticed something. She looked at the surrounding mountain walls and said in surprise, "This is a mine, and the ore here is an echo stone." The echo stone, as its name suggested, was a stone that could produce echoes. 1 or 2 echo stones would not enhance the power of the guqin music. But now, there was an entire echo mineral vein here. Jing Yan's guqin music could be greatly enhanced here. It would be a piece of cake for her to deal with an honorable supreme here. The heavens are on my side. Jing Yan thought that she was lucky that the competition was held here. She quickly plucked the strings of the guqin excitedly. The sound of the guqin reverberated wildly in the entire echo stone vein. With the support of the stone vein, the sound would not stop for a long time, and its power would multiply. Wave after wave of guqin music crashed into Jun Yi like a tidal wave. Even though Jun Yi tried her best to block it and activate her sword energy, it was still not enough in the face of the power that was supported by the geographical advantage. Soon Jun Yi was severely injured. She gripped her long sword tightly and activated her spiritual energy to resist the guqin music. She forced her body to move and attack, but her consciousness was beginning to blur under the interference of the guqin music. In the arena, on the viewing platform, A surge of raging Taoist rhymes swept out. Chu Kuangren's gaze was like lightning as he looked at the judges. I need an explanation. Why is there an echo stone vein in the competition venue? Under Chu Kuangren's domineering aura, the 13th prefect felt his legs turn to jelly. He bit the bullet and said, the 10,000 secret realm contains many locations, and the competition venue is randomly selected from these locations. Are you trying to tell me that we're just unlucky that we randomly picked this echo stone vein in the competition? Chu Kuangren said coldly. Sect leader Chu, please calm down. You can't blame the judges just because you're unlucky, can you? The Sky Emperor Palace Lord chuckled. Sky Emperor Palace Lord, you should know better than me whether it's really luck or not. Chu Kuangren suppressed his anger and said, Sect leader, this is bad. Jun Yi can't hold on any longer. Murong Xian said in a serious tone. Under the influence of the Guqin music, Jun Yi, who was in the mine, had already started to bleed from all 7 orifices. Even so, she still did not collapse. However, everyone could tell that she could not win. We admit defeat for this match. Chu Kuangren said coldly to the 13th prefect. He could not risk Jun Yi's life for a mere competition. The competition will only end if the contestant personally surrenders, or if it's confirmed that she has lost consciousness and no longer has the ability to resist. Otherwise, even sect leader Chu has no right to stop the competition. The 13th prefect said with a hint of a smile in his eyes. He had lost so many soul stones to Chu Kuangren, so it was only natural that he held a grudge against Chu Kuangren. Now that he saw Chu Kuangren being defeated, he was secretly pleased. But a sword chi slashed across the 13th prefect's body, splitting the judge's booth into 2. The 13th prefect, who was secretly pleased with himself, was so shocked by the sudden sword chi that he fell to the ground. A chill ran down his spine and quickly engulfed his entire body. It was as if he had just taken a trip to the gates of hell. Don't force me to tear down the first city. Chu Kuangren's gaze was as cold as a sword as he stared at the 13th prefect. This time, the 13th prefect did not dare to say anything more. He hurriedly opened the light barrier and sent both Jing Nian and Jun Yi back to the arena. Chapter 306. Both Jun Yi and Jing Nian were teleported back to the arena. Chu Kuangren immediately went to Jun Yi and saw that she was bleeding from her 7 orifices and was in a daze. He glared coldly at Jing Nian, causing her to tremble in fear. She could not help but crumple to the ground. This is a competition. What are you trying to do? Chu Kuangren ignored her and immediately cast the Spring Breeze healing technique to heal Jun Yi's body. Sect leader, I'm sorry. Jun Yi murmured under Chu Kuangren's support. Eventually, she could not hold on any longer and fainted. The Spring Breeze healing technique could heal physical injuries, but not only did the Guqin music damage the body, it also greatly affected the mind. In this regard, the Spring Breeze healing technique was not very effective. Chu Kuangren held onto Jun Yi. Although she had already fainted, he still said, You've done well. Sect leader, how's Jun Yi? Murong Xian, Jin Fian, and the others gathered around. She just fainted. It's nothing serious. Fian, bring her back to rest. Chu Kuangren handed Jun Yi over to Jin Fian. The spectators around them were in a heated discussion. Did the Black Heaven sect lose? I can't believe the Black Heaven sect lost. This is the first time this has happened since the beginning of the competition. The Sky Emperor Palace sure is powerful. It's not really a loss. It's just bad luck for the Black Heaven sect to draw that kind of setting as the venue. The Linghu clan and the Thunder Falcon tribe were watching the battle too. They could not help but laugh when they saw the Black Heaven sect lose. The people from the Black Heaven sect have finally lost. How delightful. Yeah, let them be happy. Flowers don't bloom for 100 days, and people don't have 1,000 days of happiness. I knew the Black Heaven sect wouldn't be able to keep winning like this. Sect leader Chu, we can move on to the next round, the Sky Emperor Palace Lord said with a proud smile. Let's continue, Chu Kuangren said. Chang Ao, it's your turn for the next round. Chang Ao was the Sky Emperor Palace's young emperor. He was also the most outstanding sky pride of the Sky Emperor Palace's younger generation, and his strength was not any weaker than Chang Ao. It seemed that the Sky Emperor Palace did not plan to give the Black Heaven sect any chance to turn the tables. They wanted to win 2 rounds in a row. "Master, we can't afford to lose the next round. I'll go," Lan Yu calmly said. 2 out of 3 matches. If they lost another match, they would not be able to win the championship. Yes. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. He was quite confident in Lan Yu's abilities. Lan Yu and Chang Ao walked into the circle of light. This time, the 2 of them appeared in a swamp surrounded by thick miasma. Not only that, but the miasma also contained an extremely evil and unsettling dark aura. As if it had sensed Lan Yu's holy radiant body, the dark energy began to fluctuate violently like oil being poured on a raging fire. The dark energy surged wildly towards Lan Yu, who was out of place, as if it was trying to drive her away. Chang Ao's Taoist rhyme accompanied the attack of the dark qi. It was a surging and overbearing aura. It was somewhat similar to the Taoist rhyme of the Overlord clan, but it was more majestic, just like a high and mighty emperor. Lan Yu frowned as she pushed the holy radiant body to its limit. Her Taoist physique transformed into thousands of rays of light that surged in all directions. Chang Ao's Taoist rhyme was actually forced back by the dark energy. However, Lan Yu was not optimistic. The surrounding dark energy continued to corrode her while Chang Ao watched from the side, waiting for an opportunity to strike. He was not in a hurry to attack. It was obvious that he had made up his mind to exhaust Lan Yu before defeating her in one fell swoop. In the arena, Chu Kuangren laughed. He was so angry that he laughed. The people around him could not help but feel a little scared when they heard his laughter. It was daytime and the sun was shining brightly, but everyone felt that the air around them was as cold as ice, giving them goosebumps. What a random move. First it was the echo mineral vein, then this swamp with dark energy. If it's not strengthening the Sky Emperor Palace's disciples, it's weakening the Black Heaven sect's disciples. What a random move. Chu Kuangren's words became colder and colder. Even so, he still sat on the spot without moving. However, the 13th prefect felt that it would be better if he was as angry as before. Now, the calmer and more composed his opponent was, the more uneasy the 13th prefect felt. It was like the calm before the storm. Although nothing could be seen on the surface, the situation was already turbulent and unpredictable. Inside the swamp of the Thousand Secret Realm, Lan Yu was in a tough battle. Chang Ao's strength was not stronger than Chang Tian's, but with the suppression of the dark energy around them, Lan Yu could not unleash her full strength and was at a disadvantage. This is troublesome. Lan Yu frowned. If this went on, she would be exhausted by the dark energy around her before she could be defeated by Chang Ao. At that thought, Lan Yu's spiritual power was pushed to its limit, and an endless divine radiance erupted. Holy blaze! White flames erupted and ignited the dark energy. A large amount of dark energy was burned away by the holy blaze, and the thick miasma thinned out. Seeing this, Chang Ao's expression changed slightly. I didn't expect you to use so much spiritual power to dispel the dark qi. But the dark qi here is endless, and it will soon gather again. What you're doing is just a waste of effort. As long as I can defeat you before the dark energy gathers again, I'll be fine, Lan Yu said. Oh, how much spiritual power do you have left? How dare you say something like that? Chang Ao sneered. It's enough. Lan Yu said no more and attacked Chang Ao with all her might. Holy blaze, divine rain of light, immovable luminous fist, all sorts of skills were at her fingertips, and she only attacked without defending. Under such a strategy, Chang Ao was suppressed. He could only defend himself and had no chance to fight back. In the end, Lan Yu took the opportunity to smash the scepter of light in her hand on Chang Ao's body. A huge force erupted and blasted him into the swamp. Did I succeed? Lan Yu thought to herself. Even an honorable supreme would find it hard to defend against that attack of hers. What a pity, what a pity. At that moment, Chang Ao rushed out of the swamp. A black inner armor could be seen among his torn clothes. It was this inner armor that blocked most of the attack's power. A defensive sacred weapon. Exactly. What a pity. If it wasn't for this sacred weapon, you could have defeated me with that attack. Chang Ao laughed and threw a punch. A majestic Taoist rhyme erupted and blasted Lan Yu, who had little spiritual power left, into the swamp. There was an extremely dense dark energy there. In an instant, the dark energy surged into Lan Yu's body. With little spiritual power left, she could not resist it at all. The dark energy rampaged through her body and destroyed it. I've won this battle. The Black Heaven sect has lost. Chang Ao smiled. Just as he was waiting to be teleported out to celebrate his victory, a white light suddenly flashed in the swamp. Chang Ao's expression changed. What's going on? This dense spiritual power and Taoist rhyme. She can't possibly have this kind of power left. Boom. A wave of water splashed out from the swamp. A white spear shot out from the swamp. Chapter 307. A white spear shot out from the swamp. The sudden attack made Chang Ao's expression change. He frantically threw out a punch, and a majestic Taoist rhyme erupted in an instant. However, that Taoist rhyme was instantly penetrated by the white spear and landed on the inner armor on his chest. Although the inner armor was a sacred artifact, the backlash from the spear's attack still caused Chang Ao to scream out in misery. With a loud explosion, Chang Ao was blasted away and fell to the ground. Meanwhile, Lan Yu slowly flew out from the swamp. Although she was covered in mud, her body still emanated a faint holy glow. You've broken through. Chang Ao lay on the ground in disbelief. He could tell that Lan Yu had broken through during the battle and reached the late stage of the honorable realm. It's all thanks to you that a large amount of dark qi entered my body and triggered a reaction from my Taoist physique. I was already on the verge of breaking through, so the stimulation saved me a lot of trouble. Lan Yu said. It was just like how Chu Kuangren used high temperatures to stimulate Shang Qingshue's Taoist physique to produce a chill. Although the dark qi could suppress the power of light, it could also stimulate the growth of the holy radiant physique to a certain extent. Just like the endless cycle of yin and yang. Of course, it was a very dangerous attempt. If one was not careful, one could explode on the spot. Lan Yu could only say that luck was on Lan Yu's side. Holding the scepter of light, Lan Yu channeled her Taoist rhyme and gathered her spiritual power at the tip of the scepter. She was about to strike Chang Ao. Meanwhile, Chang Ao's bones and tendons had already been shattered by that attack. He was now lying on the ground, unable to move at all. If this continued, Chang Ao would definitely die. I admit defeat. At that critical moment, Chang Ao yelled and surrendered. Lan Yu put away her scepter and walked up to the man. She then kicked him into the swamp. This kick is for Junyi. Then, both of them were teleported back to the arena. Lan Yu's face turned pale, and her body went limp. She almost knelt on the ground. However, Chu Kuangren arrived in time and held her in his arms. How are you? Although I managed to break through at the last moment, I've used up too much of my spiritual power. That last attack took all of my strength. Take the pill first and adjust your breathing. Chu Kuangren used the spring breeze healing technique and fed Shang Qingxue a medicinal pill before asking her to take good care of Lan Yu. Not far away. The Sky Emperor Palace Lord's expression was very ugly. D***minute. How could they lose like that? Lan Yu actually managed to break through at the last moment. How lucky! Damn, it's a tie now. His gaze flickered and he said to a youth beside him, Next match, Jin Yun, you go. You must win for me. I understand, Palace Master. The young man called Jin Yun nodded. On the Black Heaven sect's side, Murong Xian stepped forward. Sect leader, this Jin Yun cultivates an ice elemental technique. My Divine Nine Suns technique just so happens to counter it. Let me take on the last match. I will never lose. Murong Xian's eyes flickered with determination. Be careful. Chu Kuangren nodded slightly. The final battle of the Hegemony Tournament. Murong Xian versus Jin Yun of the Sky Emperor Palace. Begin. Both of them walked into the circle of light. As soon as they stepped out of the circle of light, Murong Xian felt a wave of chilling intent sweeping towards him. He found himself in a snowy mountain. This time, the audience booed. The first time could be a coincidence, the second time could be an accident, but there was no way to explain the third time. All three matches were in the Sky Emperor Palace's favor. Not many would believe that there was nothing fishy going on. F***ck me, this is obviously against the Black Heaven sect. That's right, there's definitely something fishy going on here. You call this random? There must be something fishy going on. The Black Heaven sect has won so far with their own strength. I can't believe they're being targeted like this in the finals. Sigh, I can only say that the Black Heaven sect is too famous now. Not only that, but they even won 1 billion soul stones from the Sky Emperor Palace. How could the Sky Emperor Palace swallow this? I'm afraid they've bribed the first city somehow. What's the point of doing this? They might as well just give the championship to the Sky Emperor Palace. The Sky Emperor Palace has long since given up on the championship. All they want is to suppress the Black Heaven sect. The audience was in a heated discussion. **, this judge is obviously on the Sky Emperor Palace's side. Nangong Huang said angrily. The other Taoists were also furious. On the other hand, Chu Kuangren looked calm as if he was not surprised by the scene before him. This Chu Kuangren is really good at keeping his cool. The Overlord tribe leader could not help but sneer. How did the Sky Emperor Palace bribe the judge? Something's not right. Some of the Orthodoxy's sect leaders looked at Chu Kuangren's calm demeanor and felt that something was not right. He's too calm. The White Lotus leader took a deep breath and said, as the Black Heaven sect's ally, the White Lotus leader had some understanding of Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren was not the kind of person who would suffer losses. Now that he had encountered such unfair treatment in the tournament, how could he tolerate it? This was clearly illogical. This is the Chu Kuangren who wreaked havoc in the Murong clan, the Shang clan, and even killed a sage. He doesn't look like the legend. Some of the Sage Orthodoxy's sect leaders shook their heads and laughed. I can't help but feel that something's not right. The Thunder Falcon tribe leader, Linghu clan leader, and the others looked at each other and saw the uneasiness in each other's eyes. As the saying goes, no one knows you better than your enemies. The Linghu clan leader and the Thunder Falcon tribe leader knew Chu Kuangren much better than the other Orthodoxy's sect leaders. They knew very well that Chu Kuangren's calmness was too abnormal. However, speculations were just speculations. Perhaps Chu Kuangren had changed? Perhaps he had become more mature after being a sect leader for a few years? Everyone thought to themselves. Soon, they turned their attention to the tournament. Murong Xian and Jin Yun, who had just stepped into the snowy mountain, were staring at each other from afar. Jin Yun said, "This is a great place." Indeed. Since you're an ice-based Tao practitioner, this snowy mountain is indeed a good place for you. That's good too, at least I won't have to feel too bored, Murong Xian said as he took out his long sword. Then, an extremely scorching Taoist rime erupted from his body, and the surrounding ice and snow instantly melted into a puddle of water. Murong Xian's figure dashed out and brandished his long sword. He ignored the snowstorm around him and unleashed his full combat strength towards Jin Yun. Under such an attack, Jin Yun was initially suppressed. However, as he gradually got used to it, he began to use the power of the snowstorm to enhance his own cultivation technique to counterattack Murong Xian. Ice Crystal Blast. Jin Yun's spiritual power surged, and a surge of ice-cold Taoist rhymes spread out, turning into countless ice crystals that blasted towards Murong Xian along with the snowstorm. Facing this attack, Murong Xian's entire body was covered in a layer of crimson flames. He allowed the ice crystals to cut through his body, but his body did not stop moving towards Jin Yun as he swung his longsword. The scorching wave of flames melted the snowstorm and hit Jin Yun's body, sending him flying. **, does this guy have a death wish? Chapter 308. Does this guy have a death wish? Jin Yun felt his scalp tingle as he watched Murong Xian attack without defending. Murong Xian was stronger than him, but he had the advantage of being in the right place. Logically speaking, he should have been able to defeat his opponent. However, Murong Xian was insane. He only attacked and did not defend. It was as if he no longer cared about his life. How terrifying could a person who did not care about his life be? Jin Yun finally experienced it. Crimson flames danced in the sky while scorching sword energy turned into heat waves that rolled in the snowy world. It was the only bright color in the snow. During the battle, Murong Xian's body was already covered in many bloody scars caused by the ice crystals. Waves of cold energy continuously invaded his body through his wounds, freezing his limbs and bones. Opposite him, Jin Yun, who was also injured, sneered as he watched Murong Xian's movements stiffen. The chilling energy contained within these ice crystals of mine can erode meridians, flesh, and even freeze your internal organs. Right now, you should be having a hard time moving, right? I have won this battle, Jin Yun said. Hee hee. It's too early to say that. Murong Xian smiled faintly. Crimson flames gushed out of his body and quickly dispelled the cold energy in his body. Jin Yun's eyes narrowed when he saw this. You actually burned your spiritual energy in your body. You're using this method to dispel the cold energy, but the flames will burn your body as well. Lunatic, do you really not want to live anymore? A hint of pain appeared on Murong Xian's face, but he still grinned and said, compared to having my spiritual mound crippled, compared to the sect leader's training, this little pain is nothing. I did say that I would win. Murong Xian dashed forward and began his second round of attacks. His injuries were more serious, but his attacks were getting fiercer. Raging flames surrounded his body, and the long sword in his hand trembled. Even the ice and snow around him couldn't make him retreat at all. Right now, Murong Xian was like a flaming demon who had just walked out of hell. Damn it, damn it. Jin Yun was terrified when he saw Murong Xian's suicidal attacks. Divine Nine Suns Technique, 7 Suns Slash. Murong Xian gathered all the spiritual energy in his body and a majestic flame gushed out from him, turning into 7 gigantic fireballs. It was as if there were 7 suns filled with incomparably scorching heat. Under this power, the entire snowy mountain actually produced an avalanche. The 7 suns merged with the sword Qi and slashed at Murong Xian in a frenzy. Icicle Mirror. Jin Yun roared, and his spiritual power surged. The ice elemental Taoist rhyme instantly exploded, and the mixed spiritual power transformed into a hexagonal ice mirror in front of him. The first fireball smashed onto the ice mirror and exploded. Powerful qi swept out in all directions. Then came the second, third, fourth. When the 5th one landed on the ice mirror finally couldn't take it anymore. Cracks appeared on its surface, and it shattered into countless ice crystals. The 6th and 7th fireballs smashed into Jin Yun's body. The scorching fire-attributed sword Qi drilled into Jin Yun's body, crazily destroying his body, causing him to let out a series of blood-curdling screams. With a thud, Jin Yun fell to the ground with smoke coming out of his body. Murong Xian, on the other hand, laid on the ground in exhaustion after unleashing his final attack. He found it difficult to even move a finger. Seeing this, everyone couldn't help but look at each other. How does this count? Is it a draw? Don't tell me there's going to be another round? No, look. On the screen, Murong Xian, who was initially lying on the ground, slowly crawled up from the snowy ground and staggered to regain his footing. Opposite him, Jin Yun struggled to get up as well, but he failed in the end. His head tilted and he fainted. Seeing this, Murong Xian raised his arm high and announced his victory. At that moment, the entire arena erupted in cheers. We've won. The Black Heaven sect has won. We've finally won. How we've made a comeback. All hail the Black Heaven sect. Beside Chu Kuangren, Nangong Huang, Qin Wushuang, and a few other Taoists were extremely excited too. They were so happy that they almost jumped up. However, compared to their excitement, Chu Kuangren's expression was very calm. His gaze was cold and emotionless. He came to the arena and helped the injured Murong Xian up. Do you want to die? Chu Kuangren said angrily. Heh, I promised the sect leader that I'll bring back the championship. How can I go back on my word? Murong Xian chuckled. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he could no longer hold on and fainted. Damn, another one fainted. Chu Kuangren cast the spring breeze healing technique on him and said to Nangong Huang and the others, "You guys can go back first." Everyone was confused. Sect leader, we've won. Do we not want the prize? It's fine. I'll take it back for you guys. Chu Kuangren smiled. Lan Yu pondered for a while before he said to Nangong Huang and the others, "Let's go back first. I'll leave everything here to you, master." All right then. Nangong Huang and the others seemed to have sensed something. The few of them left the arena. Not far away, the Sky Emperor Palace Lord was so angry that his mouth twitched. We actually lost. How is this possible? We've already gone this far and they still lost. How can the Black Heaven sect disciples be so strong? The Sky Emperor Palace Lord was furious, but there was nothing he could do. Meanwhile, in the judge's booth, the 13th prefect announced reluctantly, "The championship has come to an end. The winner is the Black Heaven sect." The audience cheered. The sage orthodoxies shook their heads and sighed. In the end, the Black Heaven sect still won. That's right. This sect is too amazing. I can't believe there are so many outstanding sky prides besides Chu Kuangren. However, the crowd soon realized that something was wrong. Lan Yu, Nangong Huang, and the others had left. What was going on? Were they not going to receive the prize? Chu Kuangren hasn't left yet. The crowd looked at Chu Kuangren in the arena, confused. In the judge's booth, the 13th prefect said, "Sect leader Chu, you've won. Why did your disciples leave first? They've worked hard. Let them go back and rest. Let me, the sect leader, clean up the mess for them. Help them receive the prize?" Sure. The 13th prefect took out a yin and yang ring. When he passed it to Chu Kuangren, he saw a pale palm growing larger in front of him. Then, a slap landed on his face, and his body was sent flying into the wall. Chu Kuangren caught his opponent's yin and yang ring and said, "Aside from receiving the prize, I'll also seek justice for them." The sudden turn of events caused everyone's expression to change. Chu Kuangren had hit a judge. The sage orthodoxies that were about to leave stopped in their tracks. It's here. The real show is about to begin. The Thunder Falcon tribe leader, Linghu clan head, and the others' eyes lit up. The White Lotus leader could not help but shake her head. I knew it. How could this guy let this go after receiving such treatment? I bet he's been holding it in for a long time. It must have been tough on him. In the judge's booth, the 11th and 12th prefect stood up and glared at Chu Kuangren furiously. "What are you trying to do?" Chapter 309. What are you trying to do? In the judge's booth, the 11th and 12th prefects stood up and glared at Chu Kuangren furiously. However, a cold surge of Taoist rhyme erupted from Chu Kuangren's body and instantly swept across the entire arena, almost crushing the two prefects to the ground. Both of them were terrified. After all, they were both honorable supremes. However, they were suppressed to such an extent by Chu Kuangren's Taoist rhyme. They were in disbelief. "You're asking me what I'm trying to do? Heh, what a joke." Chu Kuangren sneered before he continued, "Abolishing the point system and forbidding the use of medicinal pills. I've tolerated all of that. But you've challenged my bottom line time and time again. You've openly cheated in front of me and used the Thousand Secret Realm against the Black Heaven sect. Do you really think I'm blind?" As Chu Kuangren uttered his last sentence, the Taoist rhyme that emanated from his body became even more terrifying. The entire arena was shrouded in his rage, and all of the Orthodoxy's sect leaders and sky prides were terrified. Chang Tian, Chang Ao, Xiao Tinu, Li Yin, and the other sky prides could not help but tremble as they looked at the white-robed figure in disbelief. Just the aura alone made them unable to resist, and they almost fell to the ground. What kind of terrifying existence was that? Is this Chu Kuangren's true form? I think he was just messing around with Chang Tian before. It was like he was toying with an ant. Faced with Chu Kuangren's rage, the judges in the judge's booth felt like their scalps were about to explode. They were terrified. Chu Kuangren, what are you trying to do? I need an explanation. Chu Kuangren said coldly, the Black Heaven sect needs an explanation from the First City. I want the First City and those who bribed you to reveal the truth behind this competition and apologize to the Black Heaven sect. Reveal the truth behind this competition. Apologize? The Sky Emperor Palace Lord and the prefect's expressions changed upon hearing that. Many people could tell that there was something fishy going on. However, that was one thing. Even if the world knew about it, it would not affect the First City much without any evidence. However, if it were to be revealed, it would mean that the Sky Emperor Palace and the First City had taken the initiative to come clean. That would be a huge blow. The most direct impact was that the reputation of the two superpowers would hit rock bottom. Chu Kuangren, don't cross the line. Oh, is this too much? I'll give you another choice, and that is to let me tear down the First City. As soon as he finished speaking, a vast pressure suddenly descended from the sky. There was also a powerful sage Taoist rhyme mixed within. The sage had arrived. A black-robed middle-aged man then stepped through the air and stared at Chu Kuangren with a piercing gaze. Rumor has it that Chu Kuangren is an insolent person. Now that I've seen it for myself, I can see that you live up to your reputation. Not only did the Black Heaven sect win the competition, they even want to destroy the First City. What kind of logic is this? The 11th and 12th prefects were delighted to see him. Greetings, third prefect. This black-robed middle-aged man was the First City's third prefect. He was also one of the First City's 3 saints and was currently in charge. Chu Kuangren was still relentless despite the appearance of the sage. He said coldly, the Black Heaven sect could have easily won the competition, but you people interfered and caused my disciples to be severely injured. They even almost lost their lives. Do you think you'll be fine just because we won? You're too naive. Let me repeat myself. Either the First City makes a public apology, or I'll tear down the First City today. Very well, very well. Chu Kuangren, to be so arrogant and domineering. I'd like to see how you're going to tear down the First City. The third prefect laughed out of anger as a powerful sage aura erupted from his body. That aura was more terrifying than most of the sages that Chu Kuangren had encountered in the past. It was even more powerful than the Shang clan's 6th-step sage. A 7th-step sage. The First City's third prefect was a 7th-step sage. Chu Kuangren activated his Eye of Revelation to analyze his opponent's strength. Looks like we'll have to fight then. Chu Kuangren unsheathed his descendant self-sword. The razor-sharp sword chi wreaked havoc in the void. Upon seeing that, the spectators in the arena did not dare to stay any longer and quickly left. That was the combat strength of a sage. Compared to that, the previous battles in the championship were just child's play. If they stayed any longer and got caught up in the battle, even an honorable would not be able to escape unscathed. I've long wanted to meet you in person. The third prefect said calmly. He then raised his hand and unleashed a palm attack. A large amount of spiritual power converged and formed into a milky white giant hand. With a powerful gust of wind, it came crashing down on Chu Kuangren. That attack was so powerful that it shook the entire arena. On the other hand, Chu Kuangren did not retreat or evade. Instead, he unleashed a palm attack of his own. Golden spiritual power surged and formed into a giant golden hand. A boundless and majestic Buddhist light shone and blasted towards the giant hand. Sage ruler technique, giant palm of exorcism. Boom! The two giant hands collided in the air. The golden Buddhist light and the white spiritual power mixed together and turned into a violent shockwave that spread across the entire arena. The ground cracked, sand and stones were blown away, and the surrounding walls collapsed. The frenzied chi swept across, continuously smashing into the audience seats. Immediately, the audience seats were smashed into a mess, full of potholes. The audience members who had run away earlier could not help but feel a lingering fear when they saw that. If they were one step slower, they would have become a pile of minced meat by now. The combat strength of a sage was just too terrifying for them. Buddhism is all about compassion. But I don't think sect leader Chu has learned the essence of Buddhism at all. The third prefect snorted. I'm not a Buddhist to begin with, but I do know that Buddhism is both compassionate and enraged. Chu Kuangren sat with his legs crossed, and a majestic Buddhist light surged out from his body, forming a giant golden Buddha in the void. It was the Emperor technique, Tathagata rebirth mantra. The giant golden Buddha sat in the void and suddenly unleashed a palm attack towards the third prefect. Buddhist light gushed out like a tsunami. Within that attack, there was even a surge of Emperor's aura. Faced with that attack, the third prefect's expression changed slightly. A terrifying surge of Taoist rhyme erupted from his body and turned into a barrier. However, even if he was a seven-step sage, his spiritual barrier was nothing in front of that palm attack. With a loud explosion, the spiritual barrier was instantly shattered. The third prefect was blasted a few hundred feet away by that boundless energy. His hair that was initially tied up with a hairpin was instantly scattered by that attack, making him look like a mess. The people from the orthodoxies were speechless when they saw that giant golden Buddha. That power was just too terrifying. He could blast a seven-step sage away with just one palm attack. There are only a handful of people in the Buddhist world who can do that. Chu Kuangren has such a Buddhist cultivation technique, and he even mastered it to such an extent. It's unbelievable. I heard that some people in the Buddhist world call him a reincarnated living Buddha. I thought it was just nonsense, but now it seems that it's not without reason. A Buddhist light like that is unheard of. Chapter 310. Chu Kuangren cast the Tathagata rebirth mantra and repelled the third prefect with a single palm attack. The third prefect's hair was disheveled and he looked shocked. He had heard of the legend of Chu Kuangren killing a sage, but he was a seven-step sage. He was only one step away from becoming a great sage, which was not something an ordinary sage could compare to. However, Chu Kuangren had repelled him with a single palm attack. Moreover, it looked like he was doing it with ease. This guy's combat strength is truly terrifying. Although the third prefect was repelled by a single palm attack and embarrassed himself, he did not attack recklessly. Instead, he was gathering his strength and observing Chu Kuangren. Chu Kuangren sneered when he saw that. "What's wrong? You're a seven-step sage, so afraid that you don't even have the guts to fight?" He dispersed the Buddhist light and the giant golden Buddha disappeared. "Do you think this will appease my anger? Today, I'm going to tear down your first city," Chu Kuangren said as he looked at the 13 floating islands in the sky above the first city. That was the Prefect Island, the place where the 13th prefect lived. He leaped into the sky and turned into a stream of light before he flew out of the floating islands. "Let's start with these islands." His speed was extremely fast. His phantom light strike was almost at its peak. By the time the third prefect reacted and wanted to stop him, Chu Kuangren had already arrived above one of the islands. A majestic surge of Taoist rhyme erupted, causing the ground to tremble and terrifying earth qi to soar into the sky. Under the guidance of Chu Kuangren's Taoist rhyme and spiritual power, the earth qi gathered in the sky and formed a towering ancient godly mountain. "Stop!" the third prefect roared. However, Chu Kuangren ignored him and smashed the godly mountain down. Boom! The godly mountain's impact caused the void to rumble and a violent gale swept across. The entire island shook violently and the ground began to crack. When Chu Kuangren was still in the honorable realm, his human mountain stamp was already powerful enough to fight a sage. Now, he had reached the honorable realm. Even a seven-step sage like the third prefect was terrified by the power of that attack. The third prefect arrived in front of the crashing sacred mountain, and an overbearing sage Taoist rhyme erupted from his body. He then slammed his palm forward, and his spiritual power turned into a giant white hand that blotted out the sky and went up against the sacred mountain. Amidst the rumbling, the speed of the divine mountain's descent slowed down. The ground beneath the third prefect's feet instantly caved in. The entire island trembled and tilted. "You want to block it? Can you?" Chu Kuangren snorted softly. The spiritual energy in his body surged, and the 6 supreme foundations released a divine light. Countless Taoist rhymes circulated on the surface of his body. It was the supreme Taoist physique, The all techniques returned to one Taoist physique. This Taoist physique was extremely powerful. Not only could it allow Chu Kuangren to activate the transcendental powers, but it could also strengthen any technique in his hands. With the enhancement of the 10,000 techniques coalescence Taoist physique, the power of the human mountain stamp multiplied, and the terrifying divine mountain smashed the giant white hand into pieces. With a loud boom, the divine mountain smashed the third prefect onto the small island. In an instant, an endless amount of earth chi violently attacked the entire island. The island, which was dozens of kilometers in diameter, crumbled, and the floating formation was destroyed as it fell from the sky. The cultivators in the first city were so scared that their faces turned pale when they saw the falling island, and they began to flee for their lives. This Chu Kuangren must be crazy. What he's doing is no different from declaring war on the first city. Sigh. The first city has gone a little overboard this time. They've messed up a great championship like this. D****. Of all the people they could have offended, they just had to provoke that lunatic. Great, now who can stop this guy? The cultivators in the first city could not help but lament as they looked at the fallen island. They were extremely shocked. These 13 islands had been floating above the first city for God knows how many years, and nothing unusual had ever happened to them. Yet now, they had been forcefully smashed down by a single person. This incident was a huge shock to the people of the first city. Boom boom, when the small island finally smashed onto the first city, the dust and smoke it stirred up swept across the area like a tsunami. Everything within a radius of a few hundred kilometers was affected, and hundreds of buildings were destroyed. However, Chu Kuangren was not satisfied even after smashing one small island. He dashed towards the second small island. The people from the orthodoxies were dumbfounded when they saw that. ***me, things have gotten out of hand this time. Smashing an island isn't enough. Does Chu Kuangren really plan to tear down the first city of the realm? Such behavior is infuriating. The Thunder Falcon tribe leader, the Linghu clan head, and the others knew that Chu Kuangren was a crazy person, but they did not expect him to be this crazy. The first city of the realm. There were several sages in the city. Even top-notch sage orthodoxies like the Overlord Sage tribe and the Sky Emperor Palace would not dare to make an enemy out of it. Yet Chu Kuangren had already begun to tear down the city. Chu Kuangren arrived above the second small island. There was a prefect who lived here. When he saw Chu Kuangren destroy an island, the prefect was scared out of his wits. He went to the center of the island and activated a formation. A white light barrier suddenly appeared above the small island. Oh, a formation enchanted boundary. But can it stop me? Chu Kuangren sneered. This time, he did not use the human mountain stamp. Instead, he took out the Descendant Self sword from his waist and swung it. A dazzling purple sword ray pierced through the sky. The sword ray was like a meteor that landed on the white light barrier. Like a boulder falling into a lake, the surface of the white light barrier began to tremble violently, and ripples began to spread outwards. Then, cracks began to appear on the barrier. With a loud crack, the light barrier shattered under the purple sword ray, and the unstoppable sword ray landed on the island. The terrifying impact instantly sent the prefect flying, and the floating formation on the island was completely destroyed by the sword ray. With a loud rumbling sound, another island fell to the ground. Without another word, Chu Kuangren headed to the next island. At that moment, the third prefect, who was previously smashed into the island by Chu Kuangren's human mountain stamp, rushed out from the ruins. He came before Chu Kuangren and unleashed his seven-step sage's combat strength to its fullest. Every punch and kick he unleashed had the power to overwhelm the mountains and rivers. Chu Kuangren, the first city will never let this go. The third prefect's black hair danced wildly as he attacked Chu Kuangren. When Chu Kuangren heard that, he could not help but laugh. Never let this go? Do you think the Black Heaven sect will let this go? With the Descendant Self sword in his hand, sword chi surged. Even a seven-step sage like the third prefect could not gain much of an advantage against such power. Heavenly Emperor Sage Zhang, what are you waiting for? Do you really want to see him destroy the first city before you show yourself? The third prefect suddenly roared. From the Sky Emperor Palace's direction, a middle-aged man dressed in a golden robe walked out. It was the Sky Emperor Palace's sage. He was the one who bribed the third prefect to get his men to do some dirty tricks during the competition. Chu Kuangren's actions today were all because of him. Chapter 311. Chu Kuangren, a public apology is out of the question, but compensation is negotiable, Heavenly Emperor Sage Xiang said. Screw you. Chu Kuangren sneered. Your Sky Emperor Palace still owes my Black Heaven sect 1 billion top-tier soul stones and 2 sage weapons. Compensation. Do you think I'm interested in your apology? Does that mean there's no room for negotiation? That's right. Either you make a public apology and compensate us by revealing everything you've done to the world and return justice to the Black Heaven sect's disciples. Or, after I'm done destroying the first city, I'll go to the Sky Emperor Palace and have some fun. Chu Kuangren stood in the air and said arrogantly. Heavenly Emperor Sage Xiang and the third prefect looked like they had just swallowed a fly when they heard him. Chu Kuangren, do you have to make such a big deal out of it just for a few disciples? Heavenly Emperor Sage Xiang asked in confusion. That was what everyone was most puzzled about. The Black Heaven sect had already won the competition, and aside from some minor injuries, their disciples were mostly fine. Did Chu Kuangren have to make such a big deal out of some inside information? That was just too crazy. Everyone was confused. They had never seen a sect leader like that. Shouldn't a sect leader look at the bigger picture and prioritize the development of the orthodoxy? However, Chu Kuangren's actions were the exact opposite. He had gone against top-notch sage orthodoxies like the First City and the Sky Emperor Palace just for a few disciples. Wasn't this too silly? Even if he had to ask for more compensation from the First City and the Sky Emperor Palace, what would the Black Heaven sect gain by making them publicly apologize? There was no practical benefit to it at all. Is that necessary? Then let me tell you now. You may not care about justice, but to me, it's bigger than the heavens. My disciples have been wronged and treated unfairly. Do you think you can just give me compensation and let it go? Impossible. Chu Kuangren said forcefully. To him, a sect that only cared about benefits would be able to develop, but it would never go far. Murong Xian, Nangong Huang, and the others were the future pillars of the Black Heaven sect. He could not just let go of the unfair treatment they had suffered just because of some benefits. Even if Nangong Huang and the others did not care. But he could not. As the Black Heaven sect leader, he had the responsibility and obligation to demand an explanation for these disciples and seek justice. Furthermore, making the Sky Emperor Palace and the First City issue a public apology did not seem to have any practical benefits, but it would increase the Black Heaven sect's prestige, boost the disciples' confidence, and strengthen the disciples' sense of belonging to the Black Heaven sect. These invisible things were the most precious. Chu Kuangren, you're a lunatic. Heavenly King Sage Xiang said with a gloomy face. Madman? For the sake of my Black Heaven sect's disciples, I'm willing to go crazy. Chu Kuangren laughed out loud as a terrifying surge of Taoist rhyme erupted from his body. He then launched a palm attack at another island. The third prefect blocked the attack with his body, but he was still pushed back several thousand feet. Chu Kuangren's combat strength is not to be underestimated. Heavenly Emperor Sage Xiang, let's subdue him together. The third prefect yelled. All right. Heavenly King Sage Xiang nodded. Asking them to make a public apology was something that would ruin their reputations. They would never do such a thing. Under such circumstances, they could only subdue Chu Kuangren first. In fact, they might even be killed. A wisp of killing intent flashed through their eyes when they thought of this. Bring it on. Chu Kuangren took out the sacred emerald sword case, and 365 swords flew out from it, forming an incredibly mysterious sword formation. The Four Seasons Sword Formation. That was a legendary grade sword formation, and its power made Heavenly Emperor Sage Xiang and the third prefect's expressions change. The sword chi shuttled back and forth around them. It was extremely sharp, and it contained the mysteries of the Four Seasons, making it very difficult to deal with. Prefects, Attack Chu Kuangren's body and distract his mind so that he can't control the sword formation, the third prefect yelled. A few prefects then dashed out from the other islands. Each of them had the cultivation base of an honorable supreme, and some of them were even boundary sages who had ascended. Every one of them was a famous top-notch cultivator. The first city's resources were shocking. Attack! Chu Kuangren, don't you dare think that the first city is weak. Besides the first prefect and the second prefect, the rest of the prefects charged out and unleashed all kinds of different and powerful Taoist rhymes. Their violent auras filled the void and shook the heavens and earth. In the face of the oncoming prefects, Chu Kuangren was fearless. The sword chi within his body circulated, and 4 sword chi transformed into 4 clones. Each of the 4 clones held a treasured sword and faced the prefects head-on. Boom, boom, boom. Terrifying sword chi erupted from the void and slashed at the prefects. One must know that Chu Kuangren's current combat strength was almost unimaginable, and the sword chi clones that he created were not to be underestimated either. Each of them had the combat strength of a boundary sage, and they forcefully held the prefects back. What powerful sword chi clones! This won't do. Those below the sage level can't defeat Chu Kuangren's clones. This guy is too powerful. We can't attack Chu Kuangren's real body. With the power of his sword formation, even the third prefect and the others won't be able to hold on for long. D***, is there any way to affect the sword formation? At that moment, a sudden black fist chi exploded and landed on the sword formation. It affected the sword formation and created an opening. The third prefect and Heavenly Emperor Sage Zhang took the opportunity to rush out of the sword formation. Oh, Grey Grill Sage! Chu Kuangren looked into the distance. The Grey Grill Sage slowly retracted his fist. He was the one who attacked just now. Chu Kuangren, you're too overbearing. Today, I shall join forces with the other 2 sages to suppress you. We'll let you know that in this world, you can't do whatever you want just because you have the strength. The Grey Grill Sage said righteously with a cold gaze. He had a grudge against Chu Kuangren. Now that the Sky Emperor Palace and the First City had joined forces to deal with Chu Kuangren, how could he let go of such a golden opportunity? The Overlord Sage tribe has been flaunting their strength in the Black Warrior domain, and now they have the nerve to call me overbearing? What a joke. But it doesn't matter now. Didn't you attack to avenge your arm? This time, I don't mind chopping off your head as well. Chu Kuangren said with a cold gaze. Too bad you won't be able to do it. A sharp howl echoed in the void. A silver-white thunder falcon descended from the sky and transformed into a silver-haired old man. This old man was extremely muscular and exuded an extremely ferocious aura. He was the Thunder Falcon tribe's sage. Chu Kuangren, you killed the Thunder Falcon tribe's young emperor, Lei Ao. I think it's time for me to settle this score with you. The Thunder Falcon tribe's sage said indifferently. TK, I can't believe that I've lured the 2 of you here to deal with the First City and the Sky Emperor Palace. Interesting. Chu Kuangren looked into the void and laughed. The sages in the sky don't need to watch anymore. Whoever wants to come down and challenge me, feel free to show yourself. Let's have a good fight. That you're tuning in to the Wandering Hero YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.